Is there a problem with the link?
I don't think so, no.
200.
No video is able to launch.
There shouldn't be anything wrong with the link.
I can hear you, but we can't see the video.
Yes, hold on. All right. We should be good to go, and you should be able to open the hearing, you should be able to open the hearing, Mr. Commissioner.
You ready?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph P. Shea, and I'm one of your 3 Norfolk County Commissioners. It's my duty tonight to conduct this public hearing, and I'm now going to call the public hearing to order. Also sitting with us tonight, participating, is Commissioner Peter Collins. Chairman Francis O'Brien of Dedham is unable to be with us tonight, and I would like to mention also at the outset that Commissioner-elect Richard Stady of Canton is also participating with us tonight. It's going to be my honor and privilege to, as I say, conduct this meeting, and if you would bear with me for a few minutes, I'm going to read the rules and regulations. The first rule I want to tell you is that this meeting is being recorded. This hearing is being conducted via remote participation pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open reading law, which is Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people who may gather in one place. This is a public hearing pursuant to the Mass General Laws, Chapter 34, Section 14, and the County of Norfolk's proposed lease of land on North Street and Fisher Street to Kearsarge Solar LLC. Pursuant to Section 14, a public hearing is required in the town of which the county's property is located prior to entering into any lease. Also pursuant to Section 14, a public hearing must be held at least 45 days, but not more than 60 days before entering into a lease of real property. Pursuant to Section 14, a public hearing is necessary only after the real estate offered for lease has been offered to both the Commonwealth and the town of which the land is located. I will state for the record that the properties to be offered for lease were offered to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on May 8, 2020, with a copy of an independent appraisal for both properties, and the Commonwealth declined to lease the properties at issue. I will also further state for the record that the properties to be offered for lease were offered to the town of Walpole on June 26, 2020, with a copy of the independent appraisal for both properties, and the town of Walpole did not exercise its right to accept this term of lease before the offer expired September 25th, 2020. I will also state for the record that the county notified in writing the Select Board of the Walpole, members of the General Court representing Walpole, the Norfolk County Advisory Board on County Expenditures, and the Metropolitan Area Planning Council on June 26, 2020. The county intends to lease 2 properties in the town of Walpole to Kearsarge Solar LLC. The first premise, known as number 1, 17.5 acres of land owned by Norfolk County, with improvements on it and addressed as 1377 North Street, Walpole, Mass, as shown on a plan entitled Plan of Land of Heirs of Michael D. Hurley, North Street, Walpole, and Westwood, Mass. Plan number 2925 on Plan Book 61 and shown as parcels number 5-33, 5-35, and 5-36 on the town of Walpole's assessors map. Premise number 2, 7.7 acres of undeveloped land owned by Norfolk County, contiguous to the main campus of the Norfolk County Agricultural School, addressed as 400 Main Street, Walpole, Mass. As shown on plans entitled Plan of Land in Walpole, Mass. Plan number 971 of 1969, in Plan Book 226, and Plan of Land in Walpole, Mass. Plan number 978 of 1969 in Plan Book 226, and shown as parcels number 12-55 and 13-168 in the town, on the town of Walpole's assessors maps. Premise number 1 is agricultural school use, and premise number 2 is undeveloped. The purpose of the leases. Premise number 1, the county proposes to lease the premises to solar developer Kearsarge Energy for the construction and installation of a 5-megawatt AC ground-mounted solar photovoltaic array. Premise number 2, the county proposes to lease the premise to solar developer Kearsarge Energy for the construction and installation of a 1-megawatt AC ground-mounted solar photovoltaic array. Lease rates. Premise number 1, Kearsarge will pay $166,758 per year in ground rent, with a provision for a 1.5 annual increase in rent for the term of the lease. Premise number 2, Kearsarge will pay $31,500 per year in ground rent for a provision with a 1.5 annual increase in rent for the terms of the lease. The terms of the lease are for 20 years. The reason for these leases. In recent years, Norfolk County has struggled with the fact that revenue increases from Chapter 70 funding have been far outpaced by the increases in mandated school expenses, including utility costs, employee health insurance, and special education needs. While Norfolk County continues to make school funding a priority within its fiscal year operating budget and historically has exceeded its mandated contribution to the Norfolk County Agricultural School, increases in Chapter 70 funding have been negligible and have been far below the rate of inflation, 0.69% in fiscal year 2018 and 1.18% proposed in 2019. This operational challenge to the county is striking when these negligible revenue increases are compared, for example, to the increased cost of employees' health insurance, which increased by 11% and 4.5% respectively in the fiscal years of 2017 and 2018. These challenges have become even more prevalent in recent years, with an approved fiscal year Chapter 70 increase of 2.1% and a fiscal year increase of 3.2% and a fiscal year 21 increase of 0%, a 3-year average of 1.76 per year. While employees' health insurance, just as an example, has increased by an average of 2.7 during the same period. Faced with these and other fiscal challenges, in June 2017, the county issued a request for qualifications, RFQ, pursuant to 225 CMR 19 for qualified renewable energy contractors or respondents interested in implementing a performance-based renewable energy system project with a guaranteed on-site electricity generation of certain county properties. Kearsarge Energy was one of the responsive respondents, and the county commissioners subsequently voted to enter into negotiations with Kearsarge after a thorough evaluation and a review process. The county's intent is to use this solar project to address, meet, or exceed several of its goals, objectives, strategies, and actions concerning the county and schools' fiscal needs, including entering into a solar energy management service agreement which supports the county and school essential government functions. Policies and goals of reducing energy costs. 2, promoting and supporting the development of renewable energy resources. 3, reducing the county's carbon footprint. And 4, developing a 9 through 12th grade curriculum in solar energy for the school that conforms to Common Core and next generation state science standards. The county has been working with the town on this matter since 2017. Specifically, the county participated in an October 2017 planning board meeting that allows town and residents feedback to help shape the scope of the county's proposal. A legal opinion of the county's council was sent to town council for Walpole pursuant to the town council's request in the spring of 2018. A meeting regarding the initiation of the Mass General Law, Chapter 34, Section 14, offers to lease process occurred in early spring 2020, and a meeting with town officials that included the Select Board's chair occurred on July 2020. Also, county officials, including our county director and council, attended a Select Board meeting on August 4th, 2020, along with a representative from Kearsarge to discuss the offer to lease with the Select Board and provide an overview of the project. Relating to the advertisement of this hearing, and in accordance with state law, the county has published hearing advertisements in the Times Advocate on October 28, 2020, and November 4th, 2020, and in the Hometown Weekly on October 29, 2020, and November 5th, 2020. The county is also posting the hearing notice with an overview of the proposed project on the homepage of its website beginning on October 23rd, 2020. I'm now going to ask my Commissioner, Peter Collins, to discuss and listen carefully to the protocols for tonight's public hearing, and we'll be right back. Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Commissioner Shea. This hearing is your opportunity to speak in favor or against the county's proposal to lease one or both properties of these properties to Kearsarge Energy LLC for the installation of solar panels. The county commissioners and the county director have been receiving comments and feedback from Walpole residents on these projects since the summer. The county has worked to continually respond to those comments, and the commissioners do appreciate and will hear your feedback. In the notice of this meeting, we asked all members of the public who wish to speak to send an email in advance of the meeting so we would have some specifics on how many Walpole residents wanted to have an opportunity to comment. However, if you did not do so, you may still have an opportunity to speak after the citizens who emailed the county have their opportunity to speak. If you would still like to sign up to speak via email, please email us now at commissioners@norfolkcounty.org, and we will add you to the list. Also, we ask that you focus your comments on why you are in favor or against the proposed leases. We ask that you restrict your comments to 2 to 3 minutes to allow as many citizens as possible to speak. We ask that you not ask any questions in your comments. As this is a public hearing, we ask that you provide comments to which you will listen and hear. All written submissions and testimony will become part of the record. We ask those present who wish to speak and have already submitted written materials for the record to please allow other citizens who are present and have not submitted written materials to speak first. The purpose of this hearing is to gather information and feedback from the Walpole community relative to the proposed leases, and we do want to hear from you. However, no one from the county or Kearsarge will be answering questions. We intend to lay out the proposed plans as currently envisioned, and after receiving all your input, we may alter the plans. Back to Commissioner Shea, who will be introducing.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm now going to introduce Andrew Bernstein, who's the managing partner of Kearsarge Energy, for a project overview and presentation. Please, no questions while Mr. Bernstein is presenting. Thank you. Andrew.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to share a PowerPoint and talk through an overview of the project. So we're going to start with an overview, a very fast overview of Kearsarge, but focus on some of the requirements and try to get out the actual facts around this. There seems to have been some confusion on what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. Kearsarge, we've been a developer of solar projects. We develop, we own and operate. We've been doing this since 2010. We focus on the Northeast. We work with many public and nonprofit sector organizations, especially with schools. We've worked on landfills. We've worked on greenfields, roofs, and parking lot canopies. You'll see in the bottom two pictures here, just two examples. One is in Great Barrington on a beautiful rolling farm that, thanks to solar, we were able to save the farm and not have the farmers sell the land and have it developed into houses, which is one of our key goals, is to work with our assets to try to turn them into something that can then be restored to the public nature after the useful life of solar. You will see sheep here. We've used this. We were one of the first companies in New England to start using sheep, a local farmer. We actually pay them to come in and cut the grass, which is for us, as opposed to trying to have it mowed or weed whacked. The other facility at the bottom is another example that's been operating since 2012 in Grafton, Massachusetts. This was the first facility ever to be built over an active wellhead, and there's been no issues at all with the water supply, and it's fit very nicely in with the surrounding community. As the commissioner said, there was an RFQ issued. Kearsarge was selected in September 2017. It consists of two phases. Together as a whole, the economics were all built in, but we split it up into two phases. The first is rooftops and canopies, which we're in the process of completing right now. Unfortunately, the roofs at the ag school are small, and some of them have to be, or many of them have to be updated or repaired before you can put solar on. And we have a small parking lot canopy. And then, of course, the two ground mounts that are the focus of this meeting. Kearsarge will continue to own and operate the solar arrays. All solar arrays are monitored, well, Kearsarge solar arrays are monitored 24/7. There'll be cameras around the facility as well. All the arrays, what we try to do is, we know that there are some touch points in the community, and all the arrays will be landscaped and screened to minimize impacts. As I said, we use sheep. We're talking to the Aggie School to see if we can use their livestock as well to potentially work together. There are many different ways, as the commissioner noted, in terms of the overall, one of the major points in the RFQ was to work on the curriculum together. So there's many initiatives we're working and starting right now. One of them that's very interesting is the Department of Energy Resources in Massachusetts has a program out for dual use agricultural solar program. We just recently started talking to a few of the teachers about potentially doing this and seeing what crops would grow under shaded areas. At the completion of the project life, Kearsarge will return the site to its pre-solar state and recycle the materials. We're required by the county and from many towns and cities as well to put up a decommissioning surety for the complete removal at the end of the useful life. Additionally, besides the revenue and energy savings for the county and the Aggie School, the project will generate taxes for Walpole of approximately $150,000 per year for 20 years, or depending on the overall life. The solar operations, I think many people probably understand this, and I know Walpole is very focused on being a green town, which is great, but the solar panels contain no toxic materials. steel and glass are the main components. They're constructed to withstand hail and other extreme weather. They're built to the National Electric Code for safety. They require approval by fire and the police departments, as well as the local building and electrical inspectors. The arrays will be fenced, gated, locked in, and as I said before, monitored 24/7 with remote cameras. Site maintenance includes vegetation management, monitoring of civil drainage systems, and electrical inspections. One of the neat things about solar is after approximately a 3 to 4 month construction period, depending on the size of the arrays, and sometimes even shorter, there'll be no noise from these arrays. They operate very quietly. The solar inverter noise is the only thing you can hear, and it's inaudible at 50 feet from the boundary of the array. There's no disturbance, unlike wind, which is a lot more controversial. There's no chemicals involved, the herbicides, pesticides, anything like that. We don't wash the panels. We wait for the rain. And during the construction and maintenance of the array and any of the equipment. So we are very much focused on trying to build something that will be sustainable. And while we're trying to build things that make business sense, we're always also trying to build things that work with the economy and with the many issues with climate change. The information on the arrays themselves, the preliminary designs we've already shared. I'll go through them again. I would agree with what the commissioners have said. There are preliminary designs. We've worked with the Aggie School to move the larger ground mount array to make sure we're preserving as much of the bucolic nature and the fields there to allow people to still walk through them and some of the other activities that we've heard comments from. The interconnection applications were submitted to Eversource in early 2018. There were several comments that we did this quickly. This is a many-year process working to figure out what's the best way to interconnect these. And there's been many revisions. We've had multiple meetings with the county, the town, the Aggie School and board discussing locations, trying to see what would work. We know there are trade-offs in everything that we're doing, and we're not going to please everyone, but we're trying to come up with a program that we can meet the greater needs of the community as well as the county and the Aggie School. The arrays have been qualified as part of the Mass DOER SMART program, which is the latest incentive program. The key facts of the arrays, on North Street, approximately 1.5 to 2 acres of trees would be removed. No walking trails are impacted. It's over half a mile from the Adams farm. Screening will be added. I'll show some more details in a second. Approximately on Fisher Street, we've heard comments on this, and we're trying to see how we can minimize this array as well and change some of the issues. 7 acres of trees would be removed for the Fisher Street. We've had comments about the walking trails. So right now we're thinking of different ways to maintain the walking trails. It's really just where 3 trails intersect in the middle of the array. A fair amount of trees were lost during the microburst storm about a month and a half ago. So we're looking to see what we can do to use that path as well and potentially break it into 2 arrays so that the walking paths will be undisturbed. But there are a couple other things we're discussing right now with the county and the Aggie School. The access, I want to be very clear, it's through existing roads. There's no new roads that are going to be built. The interconnections do not require cutting down any trees. We're going to connect from the existing 3-phase lines on the road. There was some information out there that potentially multiple trees and acres of land would be cut down. That's completely incorrect. And some of the line we plan to put underground as well. The arrays have been designed to be set back from the neighboring property lines, trying to fit the overall goals as well. The carbon offsets and equivalencies, I think it's really important to understand that the annual carbon sequestration of this is the equivalent of what you would get from 11,593 acres of trees per year. And this is the breakdown of each one. The rooftop and canopies, 1,300 acres, Fisher, 2,200 acres, and North Street, 8,000. Annually, the project prevents the equivalent of 9,786 tons of carbon dioxide being released into the atmosphere, which is equivalent of taking about 1,900 passenger vehicles off the road, It's enough power for 1,500 homes, and it's the equivalent of the consuming almost 1 million gallons of gasoline annually. So the two ground mount solar projects that we've discussed, one is up here on North Street, as most people know. One is on Fisher Street. The AC side is approximately 5,000, and the Fisher Street ground mount is approximately 1,000. So in the North Street area, preliminary layout, and this is a slide that we've shared at several meetings already. But the key thing to realize here, and I'm going to go into more details, is there's a very favorable slope. We spent a lot of time walking this site, having engineers come in and trying to determine how we can site this with minimal trees coming down. As I said, maybe 1.5 to 2 acres, and that does not include, of course, the net screening down here that we're going to add to this as well. The array is about 300 feet from the nearest homes on the north part. Down here from the horse farm, it's about 125 feet from the southern property border, and there's an existing vegetative border that we're not going to touch. What's key again is that there's a steep downslope in several different areas, and I'll get to that in more detail. We pushed this back 530 feet from the road as well, so most of the existing pastures before it starts sloping down will be the same. The interconnection line, which I think were some other questions, will be right down through here. And here's where the equipment that connects the array to the line will be placed as well. We worked on, there'll be a fence, as I said, around it. And on the outside of the fence, we have planned screening, which will be something that we're responsible for maintaining throughout the life of the project. The road and the property at this angle, and we've driven from both directions, are at the same elevation. So we're trying to put up screening here that will block most of the array. Certainly you might have a tree that dies and we'll replace it, or in the winter with some of the other screening that comes down. But our goal is to try to make this array as least visible as possible from the road. So this may be a little bit confusing, but what we did is we did a sightline field work. We put balloons out here. So this is looking from the south to the northwest. Vegetative screening we use along the fence line. We put flags on top of these, or balloons. They're 250 feet from the fence. You can barely see them. And then, of course, we're going to have the vegetative screening on this side as well. Looking from the north, coming from a different direction to the west, the natural topography screens the panels. So I think it's really important to understand that it's going to be very difficult to see these. We hired an engineering firm to come in and do a topography engineering analysis as well. I don't want to spend too much details on this, but you'll see some of the signage that's out here, and what you're looking at here is just the overall elevation and heights, the property boundary, the existing 4-inch post and rail fence, and then you'll see where the solar array is going to be, as well as the property fence. So I think from this angle, you can make a pretty good case that it's not going to be visible. The North Street western edge of the pavement's down here, and I don't need to dwell on details of this, but this is something that we spent a fair amount of time on as well. The Fisher Street array, the preliminary layout, where we've had a fair amount of feedback. We wanted to push it as much as possible away from existing neighbors. And we thought by putting it back here in the forest that we could minimize the impact. We looked at using some of the fields. The Aggie School has used some of these fields for haying, so we looked at several locations and ended up on this one, knowing full well that we're not going to please everyone. However, one of the issues, excuse me, that's come up that I think is important is there are these trail paths that cut through this. And this is an open area right here. And it's actually larger now thanks to the windstorm. But what we're thinking of doing right now, and we're here to gain more feedback, is potentially break this into two, try to see if we can make this a smaller array, which will change the rent structure, but try to break this into two arrays so we can still have the the existing walking paths that go through this. The existing vegetation will screen the solar panels. There's approximately 100 to 120 feet of woods to the lot lines of adjoining neighbors, and it's more than 200 to 300 feet from the array to the nearest homes. But you've got existing vegetative screening. The access to this one, to the site, and to the interconnection will use the existing fire trail. So there will be nothing new that will be cut to get into these. So it was an ideal location. We've talked to the town of Walpole too, the opportunities for Walpole. I think it's, these projects are taxed under Massachusetts law, and increased tax revenues. We said it will be approximately $150,000, and that will be worked out working with the Walpole town manager and assessor. And over 20 years, will deliver millions of dollars in increased tax revenue with a low impact development solution, as opposed to building houses or selling it off in other ways for residential lots. Another, excuse me, another opportunity is discounted energy. The town was very cooperative with us, but they've already entered into some power purchase agreements, so they don't have a lot. They could buy a little bit more, but not a lot. We entered into an agreement with the Aggie School and the county, so they're going to be getting discounted energy to start with. And there's another opportunity with the North Street array and Fisher or part of Fisher to have the excess electricity generated by the facility could provide Walpole with direct savings. And right now, Walpole is talking about it, and a lot of other towns in Massachusetts are looking at it, is trying to aggregate this through a program called Community Solar. So Walpole would put together a vehicle, and the residents of the town could actually get discounted energy that would not only save them money, they get credits, but it would also be green energy, or generated from a green facility, I should say. The educational opportunities for the Aggie School in Walpole, there's a lot of different things. We're just starting, and there's curriculum involving students in the design. With these projects, there's a lot of information that will be shared with the schools in terms of output, production, a whole wealth of data that we've already shared with other schools that we have other partnerships with. So I think from a perspective for the Aggie School as well as Walpole, there's educational diversity. Walpole will be helping to maintain the fiscal strength of the Norfolk Agricultural School. I think that's obviously one of the critical missions of an important alternative learning environment and curriculum for the residents of Norfolk County as well as the Commonwealth. There's direct educational benefits for the town. We can provide access and educational curriculum to Walpole's school community as well, including curriculum enhancement, an online performance portal, which we're doing with the Aggie School as well, and potentially escorted site visits. In some of our other projects in Sunderland, Mass, and other areas where we're built a project right next to an elementary school, we've done programs sitting out in the grass, bringing students out, and some important things. And these are little things, but I think the mission is critical that shouldn't get lost in some of the other issues. Then I think finally, there is a big piece here, environmental stewardship and leadership. And Walpole has a goal to promote its existing net metering portfolio and its leadership in achieving the Commonwealth's clean energy goals and Walpole's objective of 100% renewable energy by 2050. There's additional opportunities for the Norfolk Ag School as well. I mentioned this before, but we're exploring the DOER dual use agricultural solar program. It's early. I've only had a few discussions with some of the teachers at the school, and I think it's a really neat program so that some of the panels, you'd lower the production from the panels because there would be shading, but you could do a whole bunch of different things and putting high shade growth, crops underneath it. And there's some experimentation to really figure out how this works. Europe's doing a lot of this, and these facilities are now starting to pop up throughout the Commonwealth. There's one in Grafton. That's one of the first ones out there. The other thing that we've done in several other facilities is plant a different grass seed. That's a pollinator-friendly environment, and that's something also that's important Finally, there's potential grazing for the Aggie livestock. We have to figure this out a little bit more in terms of location, how to get the animals out there, but that's another opportunity as well.
Can I ask a question?
I don't think we're taking any questions at this point.
Why not?
You can
Why-
certainly get.
Why not?
Answer them.
And why is the chat function disabled so we can't communicate with each other?
Complete disgrace.
This is opaque and undemocratic, just like
Should be ashamed of yourself, Andrew.
This is
Muting us like dogs. Fuck you.
Let him talk.
This isn't real.
Let him talk. If you're inviting the public, then let them talk. Scared of questions? Unmute him.
Andrew just wants money.
Yeah, fuck you, Andrew.
Joseph Shea, by the way, you're muted. I see you're trying to talk. It's just none of us can hear you. Joseph Shea, sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was muted. Again, this is a public hearing.
listen.
Go for it, Joe. Being held under the rules and regulations of the Mass General laws. We've set it up so that we're going to hear from the presenter. Then we're going to read the names of everyone we've heard from and allow them either orally or read their letters into the record, many of which we've already received. While we've been here, since we started, we've gotten 8 or 10 more people have tend to speak.
I was online first.
I'm taking them in the order in which I get them, sir. I can't, we're not going to get this finished if we don't.
We can talk all night.
Okay. No, we can't.
Stop muting him.
We can talk all night. You want to censor what we want to say.
Mr. Center, I request that you stop interrupting the chairman. Thank you.
what did you want me to say, Dad?
You're on
Turn the chat function.
The chat room is not on, correct? No, it's not. Right. Okay.
This project,
Keep going, Joe. Yeah.
Okay.
You have multiple students here trying to, and you keep muting us. This is so undemocratic. You guys should be fucking disgraced.
that's absolutely right.
I think you're out of line, sir.
Oh, well, I think you're out of line. You're not letting any of us talk.
We haven't got to that portion of the meeting yet. I'd like to let Kearsarge finish their presentation.
We've heard enough.
Oh my God.
I haven't heard this yet. Please let the man finish speaking. There's a
Right.
process going on here.
That's correct. Thank you. Andrew, please.
Sure. Well, I sort of got cut off in the middle, but I think the important thing is to hear the comments and get back. And, I'm not here to argue with anyone. We're here to listen. And that's everything I have to say tonight.
Then listen to me. I've been in the energy business for 20.
Yeah, Joe, keep going.
All right. Next,
We'll talk.
we're going to read the names of everyone who submitted written testimony to us. Then we're going to read the names of the people that have asked to speak tonight, so you'll have some idea of the lineup and how we're going to reach out to everyone. Again, we're still taking names as we go along. So please bear with me. I'm going to read the written testimony that we've received. The county has received and recorded written testimony from the following individuals since the publication of tonight's public hearing notice. If you'd like to submit testimony but haven't yet done so, please email your comments to commissioners@norfolkcounty.org. Number 1, Kristen Jackson. Number 2, Heidi Ricci. Number 3, Luke Laguerre. Attorney Luke Laguerre. Number 4, Peter Martin. Number 5, Jan Galkowski. Number 6, Aaron Chernersky. Number 7, Claire Galkowski. Number 8, Victoria Macreeds of Westwood. Number 9, Sandra Maller of Westwood. Number 10, Christine Greenwood. Number 11, Phil Zakarowski of Walpole. Number 12, Gary Ridgett of Walpole. Number 13, Kaylee McGuire of Franklin. Number 14, Michael Panadosi. Number 15, Charles Hall of Walpole. Number 16, Catherine Sonnenberg of Walpole. Number 17, Susan Conroy, Walpole. Number 18, Molly Young, Walpole. Number 19, Ellison Patton, Medfield. Number 20, James Popkin, Walpole. 21, Seth Wilson. 22, Christine Gravina. Number 23, Richard Grant. Number 24, Chris Lapino, East Walpole. Number 25, Paul Tully. 26, Lynn Brown. 27, Judy Conroy. 28, Tom Murphy. 29, Courtney Mahoney Avo. 30, Alyssa O'Grady. 31, Renika Ruda. 32, Kelly Kilfoyle. 33, Matthew Glokowski. 34, Kelly Ober. 35, David Woodnower. 36, John and Janice Raftery. 37, Tara Dufour. 38, Stephen Maxim. 39, Philip Sanford. 40, Mark Negron. 41, Richard Novard. 42, Alan Marshall. 43, Laurie Hamilton Marshall. 44, Phil Dunkelbarger. 45, Ellen Curran. 46, Brian Bain. 47, Taylor Scruton. And 48, Peter Kane. I'm now going to read the list of people that have asked to give oral testimony tonight as part of this public hearing. If you would like to speak but aren't on the list, please email us at commissioners@norfolkcounty.org. We will add your name to the list. First speaker this evening will be Senator Paul Feeney from the Bristol and Norfolk District. Second speaker will be Representative Paul McMurtry of the 11th Norfolk District. Third speaker will be Nathan Fanoff. Fourth will be Glenn Maffey. Fourth is Glenn Maffey. Fifth, Brendan Bale. Sixth, Rudy Barajas. 7, Catherine Kennedy. 8, Judy Perillo. 9, Virginia Ryan. 10, Jessica White. 11, Sue Shockett. 12, Tracy Firth. 13, Kathy Shinopoulos. 14, Kaylee McGuire. 15, again, Luke Laguerre, attorney. 16, Gary Ridgett. 17, Phil Shakarowski. 18, Claire Galkowski. 19, Chandra Maller. 20, Paul Riley. 21, Aaron Chernersky. And those additionally, I've received the following people since this hearing has started would like to speak. Mario Delamonte, Amidio Di Virgilio, Joseph Greeley, Natasha and Kara Hetalski, Jeff Hetalski, Vic Shanna, Frank Michaleski, and Roy Vopel. I'm not sure if it's a V or
Nopal.
Nopal. I'm sorry, Roy. It's Roy Nopal. So again, I'm going to ask everyone to keep their comments orderly and to keep them to less than 3 minutes. We're going to try to get to everyone. And we would like to not have a give and take. This is a public hearing, as we said. We outlined the rules and the protocol at the beginning for a respectful hearing. Anyone who cannot follow these protocols will be dropped from the hearing and not allowed back in. Thank you very much. Again, last call. All written submissions and testimony will be part of the record. And we're going to get started with the oral presentation, and we're hoping that we can start with Senator Paul Feeney. Senator.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Shea, and to Commissioner Collins, Commissioner-elect Stady, Director Mullen. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here tonight and to address this, and I will be brief. I know you have a lot of our constituents in Walpole that want to speak, but I'd be remiss, Mr. Commissioner, if I didn't come on and just talk to you a little bit about my vehement opposition to the project as proposed. And I don't say that lightly. As somebody who's been intimately involved with the Commonwealth's energy policy and legislation that we were proud to pass this year, talking about net zero by 2050, measurable goals along the way. And as somebody who's worked with you, Mr. Commissioner, and others at the county to make sure that we are realizing the revenues that we need to keep the Aggie, the gem that it is in Norfolk County. I am a big believer in what you do in this county. I'm a big believer in the Norfolk Aggie. It truly is the gem of Walpole. And that's exactly why I'm here to oppose this. You know, I've seen my share certainly in office, serving as a local official, serving as a state senator of 9 cities and towns. I've seen my share of projects that, you know, draw opposition because of, you know, quote unquote NIMBYism. And I would say that this is not that. And I know Commissioner Shea and Commissioner Collins and others that are involved in this, you understand that as well. You've been great stewards of the county. I would just ask you to look inward a little bit and to understand why my opposition, why I have such strong opposition to this. When we talked about our energy legislation earlier this year in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we did it for a common purpose and for a common goal, and that was to protect our environment, not in spite of it. And when I see large solar arrays and PV projects like we see here, they make sense in some places. You know, they've been used judiciously in other communities to cap landfills and other places. They're used on rooftops, and I'm excited about the rooftop proposal over at the Aggie. I'm excited about the educational opportunities, but there are other places as well where it just doesn't fit. And I think the reason why we're starting to see opposition from Walpole with such zeal that you would see, say, for a 40B project, is because it doesn't fit. And though the goals may be noble, and I certainly, Mr. Commissioner, do not question your intent or that of the other commissioners, but although the goals may be noble, the path to get there just doesn't work in this project. So I would ask you, Mr. Commissioner, and to the others at the county that are involved in this, to just work with us. And I know you have already done that, and Director Mullen has been great in spending time with me and talking through these things as well. But work with us, Representative McMurtry, Representative Rogers, Representative Kafka. We've all been huddling together to figure out how we can maximize the revenues and the recurring revenues that you need in the county, but at the same time, you know, not to do it through this project. And I'll just end with this, that we know what the revenue means. We know what the revenue means to the Aggie. We know what it means to the county. Consider the costs, not the monetary costs, but the cost of open space, losing all that open space, the cost of losing that wildlife habitat that we've been fighting so hard to protect in many, many places throughout the county and throughout the Commonwealth. The cost of losing that, you know, that space for passive recreation that's become so valuable, not just to the people of Walpole, but certainly to the people throughout my district and throughout the county. Those costs can never, ever be recouped. We can never go back once we go forward with this project. I know there's been a tremendous amount of work being done here, but please, please, please listen to the neighbors, listen to the legislators, work with us, hit pause on this project so that we can go forward in the coming fiscal year, realize additional recurring revenues in creative ways that don't clear cut acres and acres of trees and open space that our community relies on. So with that, Mr. Commissioner, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I know you're listening to people, and I just ask that you hit pause on this and work with us going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Next, we'd like to hear from Representative Paul McMurtry from the 11th Norfolk District. Representative.
Thank you. Good evening. And for the record, Commissioner, my name is Paul McMurtry, State Representative of the 11th Norfolk District, representing the towns of Dedham, Westford, and Walpole. Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Shea, and by the way, Commissioner, congratulations on your re-election, and congratulations to soon-to-be sworn-in Commissioner Stady as well. And of course, to one of my mentors and friends, Commissioner O'Brien, who I know can't be with us this evening. However, I wanted to take a moment to publicly recognize his many decades of service, public service to the citizens in the town of Dedham, Norfolk County, and to the Commonwealth. In fact, it was Commissioner O'Brien who many years ago referred to Norfolk Aggie as the gem of the county, and I couldn't agree with him more. And it's with that thought instilled in me that I join you this evening in opposition. Again, greetings to extended also to Director Mullen and Bill Buckley. And believe me, if we weren't in the midst of a pandemic, I can assure you that I would be dressed in a suit and tie and physically be standing before you. This is how important this topic is to me and how important it is to those I represent. And of course, it's always a pleasure to be in the company, whether it's virtual or not, of Senator Feeney and our shared representation to the citizens of Walpole. And I share many of his sentiments that he just recently expressed. I sincerely appreciate this opportunity to offer a few brief remarks regarding this solar project being proposed on county-owned land adjacent to North Street and Fisher Street in Walpole, also known as Precinct 8. It's in which the neighborhood and residents that I've proudly represented in the legislature since 2007. And I realize you have many others who wish to speak tonight. However, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge and thank those who gather here virtually this evening to express their many valid concerns. Of course, to you, the commissioners, thank you for your continued diligence and prudence and fiscal responsibility to the county. To the Norfolk Aggie trustees, administrators, and teachers, thank you for your steadfast leadership and stewardship of one of the finest vocational schools in the Commonwealth. And to the citizens I represent in the 11th Norfolk District, thank you for your interest and concern for our natural environment, for your concern for our community and our county. And finally, and most importantly, I think, and most significantly, to the many young students of the Aggie, both present and past, who have reached out to me to express their concerns, as well as to the hundreds who signed the petition opposing this project. I commend you on your involvement in advocacy. The very first goal of Norfolk Aggie outlined in the program of studies is to, quote, develop student understanding and appreciation for agriculture, natural resources, and the environment. The list continues, and the number 10th goal states to involve students in environmental issues at campus and community level. Well, this issue has undoubtedly done just that. While I can certainly appreciate the worthy educational component of the project, I respectfully suggest to those of us elected as leaders to demonstrate to these young students what it means to participate in our democracy and what it means is when you're a government of the people and by the people, and offer a real life lesson of civic engagement by listening, learning, and finding a mutually beneficial alternative than the one currently being proposed. It's our collective duty, responsibility, and obligation to do so. And while I applaud the company's mission and principles of Carthage Energy and the good intentions of harnessing renewable energy, and I'm confident, as everyone on this call does as well, I, like countless others, are deeply concerned with the negative impacts of this environmentally destructive project and those that far outweigh any good this project could possibly generate. Solar panels belong on rooftops and on impervious surfaces, and not disguised as solar farms where plants, trees, crops, and wildlife belong. Recently, at an invitation with concerned residents, Senator Feeney and I had the opportunity to walk this proposed site in the area of tonight's discussion. And I can tell you, until then, until anyone has done so, one does not realize the immense natural beauty that exists in our backyard and the important and crucial environmental role it plays in the overall health and well-being of all of us throughout the region. This unique, fragile ecosystem that risks being permanently destroyed does more good than we realize for us as individuals and for our entire planet. And the positive impact of preserving this land far outweighs any potential revenue a solar project could ever generate. Working remotely and with virtual meetings in the middle of a pandemic is not the time to consider projects of this magnitude and impact. It may be the right project, but it's certainly the wrong time and most certainly the wrong place. As we get closer to a COVID vaccine, I therefore respectfully ask each of you as county commissioners to postpone any further discussions until all stakeholders can reconvene in person just to discuss this important and complex proposal.
Bertram, please conclude.
Okay, okay, and I thank you, Director. I pledge to continue to work with each of you and Representative Rogers, Senator Feeney, and colleagues throughout Norfolk County in filing legislation and partnering with the Commonwealth and respective agencies to find a solution and continue the fiduciary responsibility. So again, thanks for this opportunity to address you and share my concerns and the concerns of those I represent. I look forward to continued conversation and collaboration. I apologize for going over time limit here. Stay safe, and I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative McMurtry. Next to speak is Nathan Mazaros-Fanouf. Mr. Fanouf, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
My name is Nathan Mazaros-Fanouf. I just want to start off by thanking the county for allowing me to have the opportunity to speak about this important topic. I'm a resident of Norfolk County and also a senior at Norfolk County Agricultural High School, majoring in agriculture. Ever since I first heard of the proposed solar farm to be built in the backwoods of Norfolk Aggie, I have not agreed with the location proposed. I am not against the idea of solar. I am just against the proposed location on the Norfolk Aggie campus. The backwoods at Norfolk Aggie are regularly used by our vocational teachers during our classes because of the many teaching opportunities located within them. Location proposed includes the tire swing, the intersection of multiple Aggie trails, and part of the Haunted Hayride route. The Haunted Hayride is an annual Aggie event that occurs before Halloween each year to raise money for the senior class. This event has been going on for many years and remembered by many, many past graduates, as well as their friends, family, and the community. As in other major of my classes regularly take place in these woods, the proposed location would make other classes very difficult for many reasons, including having to find a new, suitable, and safe location for a class to take place. Other is different from most other majors, as most of the time our feet aren't even touching the ground during class. Instead, we're high up in the tree canopy. Because of this, we have to take extreme measures to ensure the safety of the students, including finding numerous suitable trees for classroom instructions is not easy. In addition, we utilize many machines and vehicles during our classes, and if the solar farm gets installed at the proposed location, there would be no loop for the vehicles we utilize for education, which would severely hinder our ability to take advantage of the machinery that we do have. In addition, the Aggie also utilizes these trails for cross-country. The cross-country trail is right through the proposed location. In fact, Aggie also often hears from other cross-country teams about how good our cross-country trail. It would be almost impossible to replicate this trail in a different location. Many of the students and staff at Norfolk Aggie were not even aware of the proposed solar farm until very recently. They have been completely left in the dark about it, despite the fact that it would be constructed right on the land that they work on or going to school on. I can almost guarantee that lack of communication regarding this project is due to the fact that many would be opposed to this, and in turn, this wouldn't end up happening. From the numerous people I've been informed to talk to about this, not one has agreed with this. My final point that I want to make is trees are an important resource on Earth. They improve our air quality, help control our climate, conserve water, support wildlife, provide oxygen, take pollutants out of the air, among many other things. In fact, according to the USDA, 1 acre of forest takes about 6 tons of carbon monoxide and puts out 4 tons of oxygen a year, providing the annual need for 18 people. This is not even brushing the surface of the importance of trees. They are an important resource that should not be given a blind eye. This project should be more transparent to the students, staff, and family of the Aggie. I also feel this community should be more informed of this from the start. And then one other thing, I just want to put on the record that I was attending the Board of Trustees meeting last night, where it was noted that this had nothing to do with financial needs for the Aggie. Although on the public hearing notice provided by the county, and I quote, "The county's intent is to use the solar project to address, meet, or exceed the several of its goals, objectives, strategies, and actions concerning the county and the Norfolk County Agricultural High School's fiscal needs." So I just want to put that out there that it was not given accurately last night. And I just want to thank you again for allowing me to talk. And thank you to everyone who replied to my email, Mr. McMurtry and Mr. Mullen. I just want to thank you again.
Thank you, Nathan. Next to speak is Glenn Maffey from Walpole. Mr. Maffey, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Maffey. I'm a member of the Walpole Trails Committee, although I'm speaking here personally. I've also participated in creating the 2020 Open Space and Recreation Plan for the town of Walpole. One of the reasons why I'm here is because for the longest time, as this project was being proposed and debated, I was kind of watching from the sidelines as three distinct arguments were being made. One was that people were saying we need green energy. We need solar arrays and wind turbines and just as much green energy as can fit in as many places as possible. And on some level, of course, these people have a point. The second argument has been coming from neighbors and students and open space advocates who have their own concerns about taking down forests and changing the scenic landscape. And again, these are understandable concerns. And of course, there's the third case being made by Norfolk County, which is some combination of the green energy argument, the solar curriculum component for students, and revenue to the county budget. These are all good things. My sort of issue, though, with these three distinct arguments is that they're being made from what I see as extremes. It's all or nothing, not much compromise or middle ground. Just we need lots of solar panels and let's use all the open space, or we need to protect every square foot of open space. And what I found was that neither side was really discussing what I think is the most important component here, and that is nuance. Because there's a nuanced position that the community can stomach solar panel arrays and that the county deserves the extra cash that comes with it. And where the compromise comes in, where I think it comes in is where do we put them and how many is too many. There's also a nuanced case that tearing down 9 acres of carbon capturing forests is sort of a slap in the face to the very idea of helping the environment. And there's a nuanced case that we should not be taking part in deforestation and that our open space is to be preserved. And by God, if by no one else, then by our governments. So I'm here tonight to ask the nuanced question: what is the middle ground, the compromise that gets the solar arrays, but in such a way that minimizes deforestation and still brings revenue to the county? And what I propose in just one word is smaller. Smaller project equals a smaller community impact. Now I'll wrap up and say that I already know the commissioners have expressed a willingness to listen to my idea of a smaller project. I know this because, well, you're here tonight. Because Commissioner Collins and Commissioner Shea, you both met with me personally and we got to walk the Fisher Street site together. And let me just get to it. Here's what I'm asking. Scrap the entire Fisher Street solar array and consider just minimizing the tree removal portion at the North Street solar array as well. Keep tree removal to the forest perimeter. If you got to take down 10 trees or something, somewhere under ½ an acre, but move the project down slope, whatever you got to do, just do these two things. It'll mean a smaller project than what's currently planned, maybe by as much as half. But I'm asking you to consider doing that on behalf of the people that you're hearing from tonight, and because truly I believe it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Maffey. Next to speak is Brendan Bale of Walpole. Mr. Bale, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you're participating by a phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Great, thanks. Good evening. And yeah, I would like to give thanks to the Commissioner's Office for having this meeting and also hearing community members speak out on this. So I'm going to speak just again, I'm opposing this project. The proposed development area is a beloved nature reserve, which trails and residents of Walpole and Norfolk County use to run, hike, ride bikes, and enjoy nature to relax. Mr. Burstein in his presentation referred to some of it as undeveloped land, but it's not unused. Like, the community is active in using it every day and getting out on those trails and really enjoying the nature around. It's a special thing to do, to be able to just get into the woods when you live in a populated area like the Boston area and its suburbs. And these places where the proposed solar panel project is going to be located would take away from those nice places. You know, these places were evident in how much they were used during COVID-19. Many people were out on those trails using it as a respite to get out of the house. People are locked indoors, working all day, doing Zoom meetings like this, and to get away from screens and be able to get out into nature is very healthy. And the community was out enjoying these lands as well during that time. Massachusetts has been forward-leaning for understanding the value of protecting our natural environment. This proposal is in direct contravention to the state's model zoning for regulation of solar energy systems. So a direct quote from the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources: strongly discourages locations that result in significant loss of land or natural resources, including farm and forest land, and encourages rooftop siting, as well as locations in industrial and commercial districts or on vacant, disturbed land. Significant tree cutting is problematic because of the important water management, cooling, and climate benefits trees provide. That's a direct quote. I ask the Norfolk County Commissioner's Office to continue the effort that's been successfully championed by our civic and community leaders over the years to protect green space and protect it against unnecessary development. We must protect our sacred natural habitats so they can be enjoyed by the community members and future generations to sustain healthy, diverse wildlife and healthy minds. I am not opposed to solar or the educational value. Yep, just one last statement here. Not opposed to the solar idea or the educational value that it can provide to the students at Norfolk County, but I do believe that can be achieved with rooftop solar panels with the students working with them. And I think that the County Commissioner's Office could hopefully overcome the financial challenges that it was talking about earlier with alternative solutions rather than this solar panel project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next to speak is Rudy Barajas of Walpole. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I live at 1400 North Street. I'm the guy with the orange arrows in front of my house. I want to say that I'm not opposed to Norfolk County or that I am opposed to Norfolk County and Kearsarge's proposed use of green spaces for commercial solar installations at the Wooded Trails area on the Norfolk Aggie campus and at the Hilltop Farm on North Street. I've lived in Walpole for over 2 decades, and first across the street from the Aggie School, directly across the street, and currently across the street from the Hilltop Farm. So I know both properties very well. When Norfolk County and Kearsarge Energy presented the proposed solar installations at the August 4th, 2020 Walpole Board of Selectmen meeting, I was appalled. The plan showed a total disregard for the trail systems, wildlife habitats, and the significant role that these places play in defining the quality of life for the residents of Walpole and Norfolk County. The Hilltop Farm serves as the historic and scenic gateway to our community. The experience of driving up North Street from Route 109 is breathtaking. People come from all around and stop just to get out and enjoy the view. Some even come here as a destination to stand in front of it and take photos. I cannot emphasize that the totality of the experience of the Hilltop Farm is the narrow road, the rustic fence, the swelling bright green hillside against the majestic backdrop of darker trees. Finally, there is the crowning glory of the ever-changing sky above it all. But if you truly understand the property, you know that the forest behind the field is part of a much larger forest, wetlands, and trail system that runs from Adams Farm through the Patton Forest and Norfolk County land. The trails are well-defined and well-worn from use by many residents of Norfolk County. Kearsarge's proposed plan just rips across all of those things that I just mentioned and destroys one of Walpole's most valuable green spaces. Finally, I would like to take my last few moments to challenge some of the things that I've heard Kearsarge mention on August 4th and mention again tonight. There seems to be a lot of emphasis and a lot of effort that was placed on views from the street. And it really focuses on the fence line. If you just focus on the fence line, you're missing one of the biggest points, and that is that majestic tree line that you see from North Street, all the way from the bottom of the hill, to once you get past the farm, all of those trees will be gone. You won't see that backdrop of trees behind the field. All you will see is the crest of solar panels. I completely disagree with the statement that you will not be able to see the panels at the crest of the hill on the north side of the farmhouse. I completely disagree with that because the trail systems lead up to the back of the field. You can stand at the back of the field. You can look out to, you can actually see Blue Hills. But when you look out to North Street, I'm only 5'9". When you look out at North Street, you can make eye contact with the driver's side, with the car windows that are going down North Street. So whatever you paid for that line of sight plan, I'm telling you, that's not true. And I don't think Walpole should believe it. I would be glad to sit down with anybody and prove that that is not true, that you will absolutely be able to see these panels from the street. And then finally, we talk about restoring to the original condition in 20 years. You can't destroy, you can't restore a beautiful forest. And that is a beautiful forest back there. And you say you won't ruin the trails. Well, I tell you what, when you're on a trail and there's a 6 or 8 foot tall chain link fence next to you, yeah, that trail is ruined. Okay. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baraz. Next, we have Catherine Kennedy of Walpole. Ms. Kennedy, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Catherine Kennedy. I live at 1311 North Street. I think Mr. Bernstein referred to it in his presentation as, quote, the horse farm. I have lived here for 10 years. My home was built in 1760 and is part of the historic Sexton Farm. Since purchasing the property in 2010, my husband and I have operated our family business, Moreland Farm. It's a horse boarding facility that offers summer camps, riding lessons, and horse training. We've been very fortunate to abut the New England Forestry Foundation's patent forest and the beautiful hayfields and woodlands that are known as the Aggie Field. Now, that is the proposed site for Norfolk County and Kearsarge Energy's 17-plus acre industrial solar array. As such, this solar installation will be closer to my property, home, and business than any other landowner near the Aggie Field installation, according to Mr. Bernstein, just 125 feet from my property line. Because the solar panels are being built at the back of the Aggie Field and farther from the road, they will be dangerously close to our outdoor riding arena or horse pasture where riders as young as 3 and as old as 70 enjoy riding their horses, taking lessons, and participating in our summer camps. While this will be personally devastating to my family and the many wonderful people who come to my farm to enjoy the sport of riding, it will also be devastating to the beautiful fields, woodlands, and trail systems that are enjoyed by residents of Walpole and the surrounding towns. I do truly wonder if all of this destruction is worth the income that will be generated by a solar farm that could be built in a more suitable location that does not destroy families, businesses, and what little green open space we have left. I, like many others, fully support renewable energy. I do not support bulldozing rare and untouched green natural beauty and the community who calls it home in the name of green energy. I oppose this project and will continue to do so. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Next, we have Judy Perillo of Dedham. Ms. Perillo, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Hi, everybody. I am Julie Perillo, and I'm here to speak briefly tonight As a new Aggie parent, I wasn't familiar with the Aggie other than the summer camp. This is my daughter's first year there, and it has been a many-year goal of hers to attend this school. And let me just tell you, she has come alive. She is engaged, she's involved, she has positive self-esteem for the first time in a long time. And I credit that to the staff, the faculty, the leadership of the school, the trustees, the administrators, everybody. It is a magical place. The Aggie is a home for kids who may have never felt at home before. And a big part of that home is the campus itself. It's the forest, that magical place of learning, self-discovery, and peace, the place where the kids' textbooks come alive. It's a place where their passions are realized, their interests are cultivated. The forest, that beautiful, life-giving, air-purifying habitat for countless animals. It is the Aggie. And to destroy any of it would be to destroy the school itself. To destroy this natural resource to make room for another natural resource is tragic. It's dystopian in its method. And I think perhaps it might be fitting for 2020 that we're even at this point where we're choosing one over another. To the county commissioners, I see your desire to raise those sorely needed funds for the school. I believe that you are well-intentioned. I hope now for your collective ability to see the error of this plan and to change the course before it's too late. Please be the honorable stewards of the school and the community. Be brave enough to stop this project. Stand with Aggie trustee Sheehan, who spoke last night, changing his mind and now is in opposition of this project. Please stand on the right side of history. Future generations will thank you for your humility in this moment and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Perillo. Our next speaker is Virginia Ryan of East Walpole. Ms. Ryan, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. My name is Virginia Ryan, and I'm a resident of East Walpole, Massachusetts. I serve on the Walpole Trail Committee and am a member of Walpole Green and the Neponset River Watershed Association. I am speaking tonight solely as a resident of the town, and these are my personal views. I note that Mass Audubon submitted a letter to the commissioners concerning the proposed solar arrays that states that they strongly support the rapid development of clean, renewable energy that includes solar. They also state that climate change is a serious threat to both people and nature in Massachusetts and globally. I strongly agree with these comments. Global warming is an existential threat to humanity, and solar power is a critical element in stopping the progression of this deadly trend on our planet. The solar arrays proposed by Norfolk County would contribute to the state's ability to achieve the targets outlined in the 2050 climate roadmap passed by the legislature on July 31st, 2020. It is always better to mount solar arrays on rooftops and parking lots and brownfield when feasible. Yet achieving these types of solar installations is both complex, costly, and by no means fast. Many property owners in Massachusetts are not able to benefit from solar energy because of roofs that are unsuitable, too old, or too shady for solar panels. Many towns have installed solar arrays on brownfield. However, I understand that the former landfill in Walpole is so heavily contaminated that it would require assumption of an approximately $2 million liability, and it would be not attractive to community solar for investment because of this huge liability. But we need to generate clean, renewable energy as quickly as possible in order to slow down the catastrophic effects of climate change. Therefore, I support the Norfolk County solar projects. The 1 megawatt Fisher solar array would require the clearing of 7.5 acres of trees on the Aggie School property. I would urge the commissioners to reconsider the location of this project to preserve the forests and trails that are greatly appreciated by the Walpole community. I'd just like to end my comments by saying that Massachusetts is the 8th most forested state in the country. Commercial development is responsible for 96% of forest loss in the state, and much of the forest lost in our own town. Yet building developments never generate this extent of opposition as there is for these solar arrays.
3 minutes.
Although I never want trees cut down, comparative analysis indicates that solar arrays provide a more effective reduction in greenhouse gases than temperate forests. As a member of the Walpole Trail Committee, I am keenly aware of the destructive impact of climate change. I've seen it personally in all of the trees that are falling and dying on the trails in Walpole, Adams Farm, and Bird Pond. Increasing generation of renewable energy, such as the solar array in Walpole, would benefit our local forests, the larger state ecosystem, and all New England forests. Therefore, I am in favor of the proposed solar arrays. Thank you for permitting me to comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Next to speak is Jessica White of the Norfolk Aggie. Ms. White, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica White. I am a sophomore here at the Norfolk Aggie. When I heard that 25 acres of the woods were going to be torn down, I was very upset. My first memories of being at the Aggie were walking in the woods with my classmates. I knew when I started walking those paths, it was start of a new beginning. I look back at the memories I have in the Aggie woods. For example, Mr. Allen being knee-deep in the water trying to help us catch frogs and tadpoles, and Miss Collins teaching us about the trees you want to tear down. I was always taught by my parents, who cares about the money? It's always about the memories. In the end, you won't remember the money you guys will receive from the panels. Keeping the 25 acres of vegetation on the Aggie campus allows other kids to have the opportunity to make the memories that will last forever. How would we be able to do without the woods? How will the kids get a fair education or get the best education possible? I know that staff and members of the Aggie community say it will be okay, but will it? As humans, we already take advantage of our power and take more and more habitats from many species. As a school, we represent conservation and thoughtfulness towards the environment. And this action goes completely against it. You're taking away the trees that we study, the trees that not only provide us examples to learn from, but the organisms' habitats. And it is hard enough for the environmental majors to do research at the school, and taking 25 acres away prohibits them from getting the best education they need. It is hurting a lot of students and teachers to hear that you guys want to take down the trees. Most teachers are too scared to stand up and voice their opinion in fear of losing their jobs, and nobody should be scared to speak up about what they believe in. Let's not look at the money side of it and be greedy, and let's look at the learning we all came here for. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. White. Next to speak is Sue Shockett of Walpole. Ms. Shockett, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Hi, thank you very much for the opportunity. Sue Shockett, 1340 North Street in Walpole. I'm the president of the Walpole Preservation Alliance. I'm also a Precinct 8 town meeting member in Walpole. I think most of you have already heard enough from me, so I'm going to keep this very short. I've corresponded with many of you for the past 3 years. It does seem like the main supporters of this project are the people who seem to profit, and there's an unbelievable amount of opposition. I did notice that I think the high point of this call so far has been 274 participants, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably a record for any kind of a county meeting in the past 10 years, maybe longer. There are a lot of people who are opposed to this project. And one thing that has not come up, a lot has been said about the revenue, but nothing has been said about the alternative proposals for revenue that were submitted to the town and to the county with no response. So this is not the only way that the county can generate revenue, and I'd like to make that clear. I think everybody's already seen the proposals from the Walpole Preservation Alliance, and that's it. I'm going to continue. I appreciate all the comments from everybody and the attendance on this call, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shockett. Next to speak is Tracy Firth of Walpole. Ms. Firth, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi there. My name is Tracy Firth. I am on North Street in Walpole. And if it's possible, I would like to yield my time to Luc Legere.
Mr. Legere is 3 people ahead of you on
So
the list.
can he have the time that I would have been allotted, please?
6 minutes from when we get to him. He's 2 speakers away, I believe.
That's fine. I just, when
Okay.
his turn
Yeah.
comes up, I'd like to yield my time to him.
Tracy, the answer is yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Firth. Next to speak is Kathy Shinopoulos of Westwood. Ms. Shinopoulos, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself. Feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Excuse me. I have not prepared a lengthy statement, but I want to say that I'm supportive of this project. One of the things that seems to be unfortunate in the general conversation is the emphasis on finances. And I think, a lot of people are not convinced by that there's enough financial benefit to offset the loss of the hiking trails and so on. The unfortunate thing is I don't think people have all the information either. One of the things that is scientifically known is that even though it's a loss to everyone, and I'm certainly not in favor of cutting down trees anywhere, I love trees just as much as anyone else, but the offset, it's something like the equivalent of 250,000 acres of old forest, as far as with an installation like this. And we're talking about comparing 250,000 acres to 12 acres. So I'm sorry I don't have a more erudite presentation. I wasn't really prepared, but I want to voice my support. And the other thing is I just want people to really educate themselves about the bigger picture, not just, nobody wants to lose hiking trails, nobody wants to lose trees, but there's a bigger picture here. The state goal of zero net energy by 2050, I know I'll be long dead by then, and maybe some of the other people here will also, but my children, my grandchildren will be around. And I really think waiting 30 more years to try to offset the climate, what's happening to our climate with increased severity in storms, droughts, serious forest fires. We really need to step outside the box of looking at our own little patch of trees, our own neighborhood, and think of the big picture. And I know that this is probably not going to convince anybody tonight, but in the meanwhile, this conversation isn't going to go away. Please read up, study, think about the bigger picture as much as possible, and just please keep an open mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next to speak is Haley McGuire of Franklin. Ms. McGuire, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am a recent 2020 graduate of Norfolk Aggie High School, and my times at the Aggie were filled with memories from these woods that helped to grow my education, wellness, passion, and helped mold the leader I am today. It disappoints me to think that the new generations of Aggie students may not be able to have the experience I had in these woods. They may never get to experience nature and its beauty on the campus and learn to respect these woods or catch fish and then identify the species in their New England wildlife class. While solar panels are great for the environment, this proposal will destroy acres of trees. Trees have already been clear-cut from a large percentage of the planet. Why should we cut more? Isn't it antithetical to the green renewable energy aims. I believe that the solar panels would be better suited somewhere else that does not involve the cutting down of woods and part of the Aggies campus. While I fully support the idea of using renewable energy, as it is good for the environment and cost efficient, I do not believe that the exchange of cutting down the homes of many animals and that ending the healthy cross-country sports team and Halloween Spooky Trail and decreased engagement with the woodland in science classes is the right way to proceed. I worry about what will happen to the protected wetlands if these solar panels are put up. Where will many of the species who have a home here go? The town and school itself have already put forth amazing efforts to contribute to the use of renewable energy by putting solar panels on top of the roofs of buildings, but this proposal raises many concerns within our community. While I understand budgetary concerns within the town and the attractiveness of saving money, I believe that this proposal will greatly affect the residents in the county and students at the school. The acres of the Aggie trails that are in danger of being depleted are used by residents in the school for walking, haunted hayride, classroom labs, and the cross-country team, and they are in danger of being destroyed. The landscape now provides an amazing opportunity for students and people to get the exercise they need to remain healthy. The cross-country team is one of the 6 sports that students can participate in on the Aggie campus. And if this proposal continues to move forward, then it will completely remove this activity students can be involved in. Cross-country also provides many health benefits teenagers require to grow happy and healthy. Running is a great stress reducer for these hardworking teens, and it also helps benefit cardiovascular health, weight loss, improves lung capacity, and many more benefits. It also gives students a great option to help build social and teamwork skills and gives them a feeling of accomplishment. These trails help create leaders in the community and are not only beautiful, but they help to promote physical and mental health, which is exactly what students in the community need. Do not take this away from future generations. Each tree in that forest took hundreds of years to grow. They are irreplaceable. They cannot be moved or relocated, but these panels can be installed in a better place. The trails at the Aggie are used for valuable hands-on academic experiences in the classroom. From freshman year to your senior year at the Aggie, you dive headfirst into hands-on learning in these woods. My own final exam, my freshman year plant science class, was taken in these forests. The emotional attachment in these woods can relate to many people both inside and outside the school. While Kearsarge's proposal states that they will help maintain the Norfolk Aggie curriculum, as a former student, I thoroughly disagree because they will be removing the natural aspect of the learning curriculum that is thoroughly enjoyed by the entire school and is an extremely valuable and unique way to learn without having to rely on technology. The trails at the Aggie are also used to promote the extremely fun Halloween activity hundreds of people go to each year. The students work extremely hard to put on the school's haunted hayride yearly, which raises thousands of dollars for senior class activities at the end of the year. It is also a fun, sociable event that the whole county enjoys and would surely miss if they were replaced by solar panels. This yearly event not only benefits the students, but it brings the community together as a whole and promotes social bonds. I hope that the plans to move forward with this proposal are reconsidered and that another resolution to become more environmentally friendly and cost efficient can be achieved through teamwork without having to destroy the Aggie woods and many species of wildlife that call this county their home. Thank you for letting me speak, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. Next to speak is Attorney Luke Laguerre of McGregor and Laguerre, PC. Attorney Laguerre, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioners Shea, Collins, and Commissioner-elect Stiddy for the hearing and for allowing me an opportunity to comment. My name is Luke Legere. I'm an attorney with McGregor and Legere in Boston, and I represent the Walpole Preservation Alliance. You've heard a little bit from a couple of our members this evening already. The Walpole Preservation Alliance has 135 households in the town of Walpole and some surrounding towns in Norfolk County that it counts as its members, in addition to approximately 800 followers on Facebook. And again, those are all from Walpole and Norfolk County. As you've heard this evening, the project as proposed is a bad fit for the property. It's a bad fit for the neighborhood, for the town of Walpole, and for the county of Norfolk generally. The town of Walpole's master plan identifies this property as a vulnerable cultural resource. And you've heard testimony tonight about the property's value as a gateway to those entering the town of Walpole along North Street. This proposal, as you've heard this evening, is opposed by Walpole's residents and elected officials. The commission has been presented shortly before tonight's hearing with a petition that has been signed by 729 Walpole residents, about 1,642 Norfolk County residents, and a little over 2,500 residents of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, all in opposition to this project. The commission has also received letters in opposition from conservation organizations, including Mass Audubon and the Native Plant Trust. There's also been a letter supposed in opposition from the Norfolk County Agricultural High Schools Federation of Teachers. And the Teachers Union has called for the commission to hold a transparent hearing process and ask to be part of the conversation. And that seems like the least that could be afforded to them. I think those comments and others you've heard so far this evening all reflect the appearance that this proposal has been developed behind closed doors. As Representative McMurtry correctly flagged earlier, it's unfortunate that the commission approached the town of Walpole to offer the town its right of first refusal during a global pandemic. The town reasonably requested a 90-day extension to allow time to consider that opportunity and explore its options, and unfortunately was not granted that extension. And as a lawyer, when I hear these things, it gives me concerns and pause under state open meeting law. The property and the project have been discussed almost exclusively in executive session, and I really question whether all of those discussions would actually qualify for executive session under the open meeting law. Certainly some aspects of it we could see may. The provision that was flagged was that these executive sessions were required to discuss the consideration or purchase of real property, where discussion in an open meeting might have had detrimental effects on the negotiating position. And again, it's certainly conceivable, if not likely, that certain pieces of this discussion may have qualified, but in our opinion, certainly there were many others that did not. And as I understand it, part of the reason that the conversations with the town of Walpole ultimately fell apart without really getting very far was that the town did not want to enter into an executive session with the county commissioners to discuss this, which was what the county commissioners were going to require. Another major issue that we've been hearing about tonight is the protection of open space. And again, as a lawyer, what that flags for me or makes me think of is Article 97 of the amendments to the Massachusetts Constitution, which protects, among other things, conservation, development, and utilization of agricultural, mineral, forest, water, air, and other natural resources. It essentially codifies the rights of the citizenry to the protection of those natural resources. Here, it appears to me that the use of this property by the county and the Aggie High School have triggered Article 97 protection for the land. And what that would mean is that the property can't be leased without first obtaining legislative approval. Article 97 requires a 2/3 roll call vote of both houses of the legislature, as well as satisfaction of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs Article 90 land disposition policy, which would require the county to, among other things, explore possibilities for alternative sites for this proposal. And we've heard a little bit tonight about other opportunities that might be available. It would also trigger the requirement for review under the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act, which is typically referred to as MEPA. Speaking of MEPA, it appears based on this proposal that there may be other thresholds triggered, although it's a little difficult to tell given the fairly limited amount of information that's been available to us. The next thing I'd like to talk about briefly is zoning. We have heard that the county is seeking to gain protection from Walpole zoning under either the Dover Amendment and or it's the doctrine of governmental immunity as a county. In our opinion, neither of those two exceptions to zoning would apply. As we've discussed here tonight, the goal of this project is really financial. It's not educational. To the extent education is a part of this, it's really tangential and therefore wouldn't qualify under the Dover Amendment. The solar array protections that the Dover Amendment provides are limited. And what really strikes me is that several years ago, the county was set to petition Walpole Town Meeting for development of a new, what's called an SPOD district under zoning, a solar photovoltaic overlay district. And it just makes me question what has changed in the intervening 3 years where the county now seems to be of the opinion that Walpole zoning would not apply. And suffice it to say, we do not hold the same opinion, and we do believe strongly that the zoning should apply, and that neither one of those two things, the Dover Amendment or the doctrine of governmental immunity, would accept the county. So with that, I thank you for your time, and just ask on behalf of the Walpole Preservation Alliance that the commission put aside its plans for this project, work cooperatively with the town of Walpole, the WPA itself, and other interested parties to find an alternative for this project to allow for everyone to move forward together while protecting this valuable open space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Laguerre. Next to speak is Mr. Gary Riggett of Walpole. Mr. Riggett, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Mr. Riggett.
Hello, folks.
Hi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to have this give and take. I have been a volunteer at Adams Farm in Walpole since about 2004. I've organized work parties to build 3 bridges over wet areas out there. I've been organizing full moon cross-country skiing events since about 2004. And then over the last couple of years, we've redone the trail maps and set up intersection markers out on the trails. So I know the property very well. I am opposed to this project because I don't believe that open space should be sacrificed for solar energy. In the project outline that Kearsarge presented, they show sheep milling around solar arrays in Great Barrington and Grafton. I mean, visually, the photos are very stunning. However, Great Barrington and Grafton have very little to do with Walpole. Walpole is an eastern Mass suburb of Boston. Open space is at a premium, and the same can't be said for those 2 communities. Another thing that was presented in Kearsarge's presentation was that the land will be returned to open space after the lifetime of the arrays, which is 20 to 25 years or so. So that's fine. However, I'm not sure that this will transmit very well. So what I've shown here, here's North Street. So here's the road, here's the fence, the white fence that we see in pictures, and here's the slope. The backside of the slope is a ridge, a rock outcropping with a hemlock forest. And then down here is a trail, which is within the bounds of the project. So the trails will be impacted. My point for showing this is that this slope, in all likelihood, will be leveled or raised to make a smooth surface for the solar panels. So 20 years from now, the panels may be gone, but that ridge will be gone forever. So the land is going to be permanently altered. So I can appreciate the financial challenges that the commissioners and the county are facing. Expenses related to healthcare are, widely known. They're cited frequently as growing exponentially. So I can totally understand the need for developing alternate resources, financial resources. So I fully support solar energy. The problem is that this particular property is too special and too unique, and its location in Eastern Mass makes it too valuable to be permanently altered. So I will implore you, commissioners, to please consider alternate locations owned by the county. And for the rest of us, I just want to point out that the county, we may not be aware, stretches from Bellingham to Cohasset, and then from Brookline to Plainville. I mean, that's a pretty big area. I don't have a properties that the county owns, but that's a big area. There's got to be places, brownfields, other developable properties that aren't Adams Farm and aren't pristine natural locations. So thank you for this opportunity and have a great night. And I'm done.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Mr. Riggett.
Is somebody else supposed to be speaking?
Yes. Can you hear us, Mr. Riggett?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Could you guys hear what you could hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks.
Next to speak is Mr. Phil Zakarowski of Walpole. Mr. Zakarowski, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
And to the commissioners and to the county, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak and for all of us to give input. I'm speaking on behalf of Walpole Green, and we strongly endorse this proposed project, the installation of ground-mounted photovoltaic arrays. And we support it primarily because of global warming and the need for us to take drastic action to head off the consequences of it. We request that Kearsarge and Norfolk County commissioners work with the agricultural school and other town residents, though, to address the concerns, particularly around the Fisher Street property. So we do recommend that you work to address a lot of the concerns we've heard tonight that are very valid, and hopefully that is something that can be addressed without impacting the whole project. Global warming is an essential threat to humanity with profoundly effects on the economy, public health, water resources, infrastructure, coastal resources, and natural resources. And urgent action is needed now to address the Earth's warming. And about 2 years ago, we had a speaker from the Northeast Climate Science Center, Albert Calamar, and he spoke about the fact that Northeast United States will actually see a bigger impact from climate change than most of the other country, because the impact of climate change is not equally across all parts of the world at the same time. Also, the IPCC Special Report 1.5 that came out 2 years ago said it was so urgent that we need to stop the world's climate from rising more than 1.5 degrees centigrade, because going higher than that, it is going to have more drastic effect, more flooding, more storms, more hot weather, and so forth, all of which would affect Walpole and Massachusetts. Now, with this project, Walpole would be helping to address the climate crisis, and we would be supporting our state's, our town's renewable energy goals. In 2008, Massachusetts passed the Global Warming Solutions Act with the goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050, and from a 1990 baseline. And now with the Climate Roadmap bill, the goal is to get to be carbon neutral by 2050. And these are going to be challenging goals if we don't do a lot of work right now to increase our production of renewable energy. Now, so often, electrical generating plants are placed in cities and towns where there's more poor residents, and they take the brunt often of the environmental impact. And it's only fair that all of us take some responsibility for hosting generation plants.
3 minutes, Mr. Zakarowski.
And as it is sometimes difficult to achieve a balance between the need for clean energy and our shared goals of environmental protection and biodiversity. No one likes to see trees being cut down. The solar farms do displace the need for fossil fuels. They ultimately reduce the emissions that drive climate change. Climate disruption is our biggest threat to forests, ecosystems, diversity, and life. And New England's trees, including those in Walpole, are being stressed by droughts, severe weather, rising temperatures, changing season length, air pollution, and invasive plants, which are all manifestations of climate change. So this is an opportunity for us to generate some electricity, clean electricity in Walpole. I do think that the project has done a good job at trying to minimize the impact, particularly on the Fisher Street. We would like to see fewer trees cut down if that's possible on the North Street side. And on the Fisher Street side, seeing fewer trees, and again, working with the school and with citizens to see if they can't readjust that. So we do recommend that this project go forward because we do need more renewable energy and we need it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jakowski.
Thank you.
Next to speak is Ms. Claire Gelkowski of Westwood. Ms. Gelkowski, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press 6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. As you said, my name is Claire Galkowski. I live in Westwood, right down the street from North Street. I've been an active environmentalist for 30 years and a recycling professional for 25. In that time, I have learned that every consumer and lifestyle choice we make has environmental impacts and involves trade-offs. We can be blissfully unaware of these impacts if we ignore where our products, electricity, and fuel come from, how they're made, and what happens to them after we're done with them. Most of the damage we do is not in our backyard, but in someone else's. We suburbanites have a huge footprint. I support the proposal that our county commission has developed because it will help us take some control and responsibility for the vast amounts of electricity that we consume. Our air conditioners and computers are powered largely by polluting fuels that are imported from as far away as Yemen and burned in massive plants in Everett, Medway, and Bellingham. The Mystic plant in Everett alone belches over 1 million tons of carbon dioxide every year. This is trapping heat in our atmosphere, as Phil just mentioned, and driving wildlife, killing forest fires, floods, and droughts. And the residents who live in those neighborhoods suffer higher rates of asthma and COVID-19 than we do. Our state leaders know that we have to stop burning fossil fuels. Since we have failed to develop enough local renewable energy, the governor is now working on a hydropower deal that would flood more than 60,000 acres of Canadian old-growth forest and clear-cut a 100-yard-wide swath through 145 miles of Maine forests and wetlands. This is to bring that electricity to our homes. This kind of destruction will only be unnecessary if we get serious about creating our own clean energy. And saying that we want solar somewhere else, some other time, that doesn't get us anywhere. These things take a long time to develop. The county is giving us an opportunity to become more self-sufficient in meeting our local energy needs with the power of the sun, using quiet, clean, and low-impact solar panels. The trade-off is a relatively small plot of field and forest. But as Mr. Bernstein pointed out, the beautiful thing about ground-mount solar PV is that it can coexist with natural and agricultural systems. Wildlife and pollinator-friendly plants can thrive alongside them. And the amount of carbon pollution that this project would prevent is equivalent to that of hundreds of acres of old-growth forest. If we're interested in preserving fields and trees beyond our own backyards, it would be far more effective if we stopped using paper towels and other unnecessary paper products, stop burning cordwood, and stop buying foods and products that contain palm oil. But if the concern is only for preserving our own local surroundings, we have to be aware that it is at the expense of others, including our grandchildren, who will inherit a hotter and less habitable planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Golkowski. Next to speak is Sandhya Mahler of Walpole. Ms. Mahler, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Sandhya Mahler, and I'm a longtime resident of the town of Walpole. I am a member of the Walpole Trails Committee, but I'm speaking today, sharing my personal views today. I hike and use many of the trails in the open lands in the Walpole area and surrounding towns, and especially in this year of the pandemic, it has been my saving grace. In the interest of compromise and balance in the county's approach, I propose that Kearsarge Energy and Norfolk County consider pursuing the North Street Array project behind Bubbling Brook while permanently canceling or at least reducing the project at Fisher Street at the Aggie. In both cases, if the panels do get placed, then I would really urge you all to consider placing them in a clearing and minimize the clearing of trees. I think this is a matter of balancing competing priorities. I certainly believe in addressing long-term green energy solutions. Climate change is an issue. However, I believe these concerns should be balanced with the preservation of our forests and trails, because once those trees, mature trees, have been cut down, they will be gone forever. It will be very hard to reclaim any of that land. So I'm proposing that the North Street Array project proceed with a few caveats. Preserve the trails and outlying woods of Adams Farm and Patton Forest as much as possible. Perhaps use more of the clearing and cut down fewer trees. If feasible, extend or enhance the North Street solar array project, and to enable the reduction or cancellation of the project at Fisher Street at the Aggie. And if possible, perhaps the county could consider other potential spaces, such as rooftops of public buildings or unused highway land around other towns in the county. As Gary mentioned, the county is a very large area, geographic space, and it does not all have to be focused around the town of Walpole. This balanced approach, I think, will protect Norfolk County's fiscal goals, will meet the needs of the Aggie around energy and farming curriculum, as well as meeting Kearsarge Energy's business goals, and will also preserve Walpole's trails and forests for future generational use. So thank you for your time and for allowing me to share today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mallour. Next to speak is Mr. Paul Riley of Dedham. Mr. Riley, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6. You may proceed.
Awesome, thank you. And good evening, everyone. I have to start by saying that I submitted written testimony for the permanent record, but I want to rescind that because it was predicated on the very little amount of available information that was disseminated to the citizens before this hearing, and all of my opinions seemingly have changed. Listen, I'm here for one reason, and it is to protect the next generation of Aggie students. Premises 2 has a serious opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is that students are not going to be able to participate in trail walks, trail rides, tree climbing, hayride, and frankly, one of the best cross-country courses in the state. You know, they don't have a lot of say in these proceedings. I've only seen a couple of current students, and it might be due to the fact that there's not a lot of public information available for this project. But let's see who's taken a stance on this. We have the Honorable State Senator Paul Feeney, who has spoken in opposition. You have Chairman Paul McMurtry of the Arts, Tourism, and Cultural Development Committee in the State House, one of my mentors. He's spoken in opposition of this, and given his chairmanship, I think he knows what he's talking about. No one is against solar in principle, right? The people who are speaking in support of this project are talking about the long-term effects of climate change and man-made devastation of the environment. I'm absolutely sympathetic to that, as I'm sure everybody who is speaking in opposition is. Now, what we have problems with is how this has been presented to us. The proposal just seems to take little regard for Aggie students, and it seems that there may be better alternatives in the future. One thing I want to point out is that the science here is still pretty new, right? So these developments are going to have to be modular. As the science develops, the panels themselves, the transistors, the batteries, all these things are going to be outdated and need to be removed and replaced with things that are better. That's not going to be possible, especially at the Aggie, when it is surrounded by tons of forest land. You're going to have to destroy more of an area just to update it as it goes. Now, if we're looking for the financial costs, the needs of the county, and I'm not even sure that that is true. It seems like it has been proposed as one of the reasons for this development, but it also seems like that hasn't really been, I can't tell if it's true or not. It just seems like there's two schools of thought on that. If that's the case, I want to refer to the warrant book that I received as a member of Dedham's town meeting. I was elected to that seat in the spring. Norfolk Aggie gets, as with any of the other towns and cities that send students to the Aggie, it gets funding from the towns and cities. Norfolk Aggie has gotten $26,000 from Dedham for fiscal year 2021, and Blue Hills gets over $2 million. I'm not trying to pit the Aggie against Blue Hills, but I want to understand why there's this disparity. And I would be the first person to submit a warrant to Dedham's town meeting to increase funding if that seems to be the issue. But again, I want to say I am in opposition of this project as it has been presented. It is a detriment to the future of Norfolk Aggie, and all the elected officials who have spoken are in agreement with me. Please take a stand for the future of the students who do not have a voice in these proceedings. I yield back the remainder of my time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Riley. Next to speak is Aaron Chernisky of the American Federation of Teachers. Mr. Chernisky, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you, County Commissioners. I'm Aaron Chernisky, teacher and union president at Norfolk Aggie. The Norfolk County Agricultural High School Federation of Teachers is sensitive to the county and schools' need to generate more revenue due to budgetary challenges. For well over a year now, the Aggie faculty has heard of potential job cuts, in addition to admissions and retention concerns. In June, nearly 25% of the staff was non-renewed. While to date, all faculty positions have been restored and almost all faculty positions have been refilled, the Federation remains deeply concerned about the school's budgetary challenges moving forward, especially if budgetary constraints jeopardize acquiring and retaining the supports required to properly address the ever-increasing health and social-emotional needs of our students. Despite these challenges, the Norfolk County Agricultural High School Federation of Teachers chooses to use its collective voice to stand united in favor of renewable energy resources and against the next proposed phase of the solar energy project that leads to the removal of acres of forest and tree line in order to make room for the North Street and Fisher Street solar arrays. We are pleased by the progress made on the rooftop solar panels and the work started for the parking lot canopy on campus, but we cannot sit idly by as additional solar panel proposals are made that run counter to the values of Norfolk Aggie. Norfolk Aggie educators strive to be leaders in agricultural education and on the cutting edge of environmental studies. Therefore, we request to be part of the conversation, to be part of the solution, and to be part of a transparent planning process that finds a balance in expanding renewable energy resources and revenue streams on campus, while protecting our green spaces and natural habitats, educating our students, and being good neighbors. As a historical agricultural high school, Norfolk Aggie is uniquely challenged in honoring its rich history while preparing students for hopefully an even richer future. The backwoods is a natural wildlife habitat that acts as an interactive classroom for all of our vocational programs. It also provides land for part of our cross-country and haunted hayride trail system. The backwoods is an asset that helps recruit new students to the Aggie. It should be protected and treated as the asset it is. Tearing down large portions of the forest is destructive to the Aggie's past, present, and future. We cannot mortgage the future of Norfolk Aggie for monetary gain now. The Norfolk County Agricultural High School Federation of Teachers stands united with current students, alumni, and neighbors who have spoken out against this next phase. I am proud of the Aggie students, alumni, parents, and educators who have spoken up today. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Chernisky. Next to speak is Mauro Delamanacci. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Hi, how are you doing? Thank you for letting me speak at the meeting. I've been a resident of Norfolk County for 40 years, and I want to let everyone know I greatly oppose this project. If it's mainly a few reasons is we're removing green space and replacing it with a commercial environment. And if it is about funding in Norfolk County, we have 28 towns in the county. If you get the 150,000 that will be generated by revenue, that's roughly $5,000 per town. If we just ask all of the towns to increase by $5,000, we can generate the money that is going to be generated by the solar farm. A few other things I want to address is on North Street, I 100% agree that this will be seen, visible by the road, and it's not the issue of just seeing visibility, it's also we're destructing the green space that we have. In recent years, in the recent couple of months with COVID, so many more people have been entering the woods and enjoying nature, and now we are going to be destroying an open space for those people for future years. I totally oppose the project, and I hope we can come to some agreement to eliminate this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next to speak is Mr. Emilio Di Virgilio of Walpole. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed, sir.
Evening. My name is Emilio Di Virgilio. I'm town meeting member, Precinct 8, as well as a member of the Conservation Commission in Walpole. I stand in opposition to the project as currently constituted. I believe there are other opportunities, open spaces that a solar project such as this can be implemented. I am not opposed to renewable energy. However, I just don't think that destroying forests would make sense to me. It seems counterintuitive to me to do to do that. So also, since the area the project is located is crisscrossed with wetlands and streams, this project should come before the Walpole Conservation Commission. So I just want to point that out as well. So, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Di Virgilio. Next to speak is Mr. Joseph Greeley of Norwood. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed, Mr. Greeley.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak briefly. I will keep my comments brief. Excuse me, I have submitted these in a letter to the Commissioners. My name is Joseph Greeley. I live at 16 St. John Ave in Norwood, Mass, town in the county of Norfolk. I speak tonight as a private citizen of the county, having lived in the county for almost 40 years. I've been a Norwood Town Meeting member for 30 years, and prior to that, I acted as a Dedham Town Meeting member for 5 years. I'm a member of the Norwood Trails Committee, working in close collaboration with the Dedham and Walpole Trails Committee. I volunteered at Adams Farm and at Hale Reservation. I understand the plan to install a solar array in 2 locations within the county's property of North Street and Fisher Street. I understand the need to create a steady and predictable revenue stream. Having served on the Norwood Finance Commission for over 14 years, I certainly understand the fiscal demands of running the school budget. I note that an undetermined amount of the proposed revenue would be split between the Norfolk Agricultural budget, school budget, and the county budget. I did understand from the earlier speaker that the approximate annual revenue would be in the neighborhood of about $200,000. I would highlight the fact that this $200,000 per year is approximately 1% of the Aggie's $15 million annual budget. I truly question the positive impact that this project brings financially, when in fact the revenue split for the school would be minimum and certainly immaterial related to the school's overall budget. To answer Mr. Riley's question posed earlier, the $26,000 that Dedham pays, along with the $28,000 that Norwood pays for the 2021 budget, is only a surcharge over and above the annual county chargebacks in supporting the county's efforts, which include the Aggie's efforts. I'm an advocate for the Aggie, having served as the Norwood Finance Commission's liaison to the school for years. As such, I'm therefore an advocate of the surrounding property that forms the Aggie community and school, and also this property that provides an outdoor learning space for the students. Although this project is advertised as beneficial to the school curriculum, I believe this project would represent a net loss to the school and the curriculum, further worsened by the long-term and likely permanent loss of this significant portion of the school's footprint. I also note the loss of virgin forest to make the solar array possible. I find this ironic that a significant area would be deforested in order to install a solar panel array. To me, this confirms the fact that this project is all about the revenue stream. For these reasons, I'm totally opposed to the Fisher Street array. I see no net benefit to this portion of the project. I am excited and impressed, as always, by the participation of the Norfolk Agricultural School community, especially the students that are taking part in this hearing tonight.
3 minutes, Mr. Greeley.
Thank you, sir. Related to the North Street array, I've also walked this property a number of times. I'm an avid hiker, and this area provides access to a virgin forest and high meadow filled with wildflowers. The entire property provides a haven for wildlife of all types. This plan calls for a significant amount of deforestation in this area as well. I understand the revenue stream demands and the vision of the commissioners that this area may be one of the few opportunities to generate revenue. However, the loss of tree canopy and wildlife habitat far outweigh the revenue gain. I am, however, a realist. I would strongly recommend that the commission scale back the project in this North Street area, eliminate the need to deforest, and allow the hiking and educational programs to continue to enjoy this property. The commissioners seek a balance while at the same time firming up long-term revenue streams. I recognize the fact that these properties serve as one of the last options for the commissioners to generate revenue. I do, however, recommend a reduction in the scope of the project and minimize the negative impact caused by the project as presented. I would also strongly recommend that the county seek alternate sources of revenue and alternate cost reductions. These alternate sources should focus on the highest priority as those with the lowest negative impact on quality of life. Certainly this project, the Kearsarge project, is minimally beneficial and carries a huge negative impact for the community and for the county. Once this land is lost, it's lost forever. The 20 years as stated in the project is immaterial, and frankly, it's an insult to the people that really understand where this is headed. I'm certainly available. I work closely with the Walpole Trails Committee. I'm available to discuss this further. I would strongly recommend that the commissioners consider an alternate project scope. And I do believe that a reduction in this project is in the best interest of the community as a whole. Thank you. I appreciate the time, and I wish the commissioners best of luck in this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Greeley. Next to speak is Natasha Hatalski. Ms. Hatalski, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Hi, yes. Thank you so much for hearing me this evening. The first thing I wanted to say was that we don't have any problem at all with solar energy. In fact, our family is actually thrilled by the rooftop installations and the solar canopy over the parking lot. My daughter attends the Aggie, and we are very aware of the incredible value of the gem that is the Aggie and its special place in the lives of so many children who want to go into all the fields that they train for there. We also personally have no opinion on the development on North Street. We feel that the residents and others who are familiar with that area are the best people to speak to the potential impact of the environment, on the environment and the community that array would bring. We deeply appreciate everyone who has expressed their perspective on that tonight. However, we strongly disagree with the proposed location for the solar array on the Aggie campus on Fisher Street. First, I would like to address the point of the educational value of this proposal. What exactly are we trying to teach our children, including in the environmental program? Is the Aggie supposed to teach the children about responsible development? When there are other locations, including on the Aggie campus, that have been proposed, better locations, which would not result in this level of destruction, why is this proposal still being considered? It would be far better to choose another location or locations on the campus or in Walpole where this project would not result in this level of destruction. Also, especially at this time, and especially for children who come to this school specifically seeking to go into forestry, arboriculture, agricultural mechanics, environmental science, plant science, and animal science, and who have had to deal with so much this year, and who cannot find this type of environment to train in any place else in the state, why is it considered appropriate to propose taking away one of the critical outdoor spaces at this school that are used for their training? Additionally, the students would learn far more from designing and building solar projects on campus themselves. Simply seeing a solar project that is already installed by a huge corporation will do very little to actually teach them anything about how to design, build, and work with such arrays themselves. It would be far more valuable to show them an example of healthy and sustainable development that does not result in the destruction of mature forest and wetlands. Finally, I want to address the Aggie finances specifically. There has been much mentioned this evening by the commissioner about the desire to offset the cost of the Aggie. I know it costs a lot to run that school. Every year at the Aggie, there is a budget shortfall due to poor planning. There is this year as well. This was due to planning for full admissions. Full admissions, so I understand, have not occurred for several years. Knowing this, why does the Aggie continue every year to set up their budget as if they were going to be full admissions when they know that full admissions are highly unlikely? Or why are they not working harder to obtain full admissions, especially from out-of-county students, where more than $20,000 a student is paid to the school for those students to attend? The projected shortfall from this cause alone this year, as mentioned last night at the Norfolk Aggie Board of Trustees meeting, is around $150,000. Most of that is from only 6 out-of-county spots that were not filled. I would like to suggest that the commissioners, rather than considering this plan as a way to address the financial issues for the Aggie, look into the planning methods for the Aggie that they're using to balance their books. $150,000 is a lot more than $31,500 that could be attained from leasing this specific area of land on Fisher Street. In conclusion, I just wanted to ask that you consider not robbing the children who attend this school of one of their major training locations, the forest. And please do not use the educational value as an excuse when there's actually far less educational value from that land being used for a commercially installed solar array than as a forest learning environment for almost all of their vocational paths. Also, please consider providing these children with an example of healthy energy development that does not result in the destruction of mature forest and wetlands when there are other options available. Thank you so much for listening to what I had to say on this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hatosky. Ms. Kara Hatosky, would you like to speak also? I see you're in the same Zoom and signed up after.
Hello. My name is Kara Hatolsky, and I would like to thank everyone for hearing me speak this evening. I am speaking in opposition to the proposed installation of solar panels on the Norfolk Aggie campus. I would like to stress again that I am not against clean energy. I feel like one of the classes that I've actually seen oppose this specific project most is my environmental class, because we benefit daily from those trails. And I don't think you could find any kids who are more for clean energy. We see the daily learning impacts of those trails and that woodland on all of our lives. Plant science kids, environmental science kids, animal science kids, and even agricultural mechanics kids use those forests daily. They're part of a huge staple in our school year, Haunted Hayride. We have talked a lot this evening. Many people have mentioned the learning impacts that putting a solar array in would have. They say it would be great for the students to learn about this, but I see it differently. If you put in this solar array, our forest, which we learn in every day, will be destroyed. It won't increase learning, it will remove it, because we already have solar panels on campus. We can look out the window of our science teacher's classroom and see the supports going in for the solar canopy. And honestly, we find that super cool. But we don't want you to take away our learning and to also take away a valuable ecosystem that we all have grown to know and love just to put in these solar panels. I am not against solar panels as a whole. And I would love it if this project could be moved to somewhere else. I know there has been a place proposed by some teachers along Gould Street, which would take out less forest and less harm our campus. So I would like you all to consider slowing this project down, collaborating with the Aggie, and consider moving the array to somewhere that will not affect students daily and a community which has grown to love this forest. And as I finish up, I just want to say thank you for allowing me this wonderful chance to participate in democracy. And I would ask that you continue to allow me and other students this chance by providing us with information on this, because we truly do care about the health of our school. Thank you.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you, Mr. Tulsky.
Natasha.
Okay. Next to speak is Mr. Jeff Hatulski. Mr. Hatulski, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
I think we're all set on Jeff.
Mr. Hatulski? Yeah. Well, hi, sir.
Hello, my name is Jeff Hatulski. I am a parent of a student at the Norfolk County Agricultural High School. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Like every speaker so far, I understand the dire nature of climate change, and I am totally in favor of carbon neutral, carbon-less solutions. Like nearly every speaker on this call so far, I'm opposed to the current location of the project. I do not want to rehash all of the points made so far. We are trading permanent for temporary and rare for common. We are not trading the student's solitude for anything. We are giving away the student's solitude. The educational benefits listed by Kearsarge Energy are slim and debatable at best. Please do not locate this in the forest. Please, speaking as an engineer, demand of your engineers at Kearsarge Energy that they come up with a better solution. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Hatulski. Next to speak is Mr. Victor Skenna of Walpole. Mr. Skenna, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Yes, my name is Victor Sena, and I live on in Precinct 8 in Walpole. And I think this proposal by Norfolk County is one of the most irresponsible power projects I've ever seen in my life. I have been in the power industry for 25 plus years, okay? Basically what this does, it turns a pristine land into an industrial park and destroys the neighborhood at the same time. The panels are loaded with cadmium. Does everybody know what cadmium is? I don't think so. Cadmium is a poisonous substance to human and wildlife, okay? And considering the hazardous waste aspect, when these panels are at the life end or broken, they are hazardous materials. When they are placed over a water supply, which is directly over one aquifer in Walpole, it's part of the town's sole source water. Furthermore, the company that is going to build the power plant has said that at the end of the plant's life cycle in 20 years, they can return the site to its original condition. That is impossible. You cannot reconstruct old growth trees, never mind the potential of the calcium leaching into the soil. I have a suggestion, and I've suggested this to the people in Walpole, and many people have over the last 2 years. Put the plant on the old town dump, or put it someplace where it doesn't affect pristine land. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Skinner. Next to speak is Mr. Frank McKenzie. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself. Feel free to turn on your video if you are participating via phone. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you. My name is Frank McKenzie. I live at Independence Drive in Walpole. My family's owned property on Fisher Street across from the Aggie for nearly 40 years. Thank you, Commissioner, for the opportunity to oppose this project. I find the PowerPoint that Mr. Bernstein presented as hypocritical and downright insulting to the audience. The portrayal of this project as a farm is laughable. The project is the destruction of agricultural land, which the Aggie has prided itself on for so many years. The transformational of rural agricultural open and wooded land to a commercial industrial wasteland would be a travesty, not only to the neighbors, but to the entire town of Walpole and Norfolk County. The proposal of restoring the land to its original format once the project is complete is financially not possible. The cost would be beyond what any developer would want to invest on their way out. And if you could replace the 100-year-old trees and 100-year-old growth, again, the developer would not want to invest that money on their way out of town. To say that wildlife and agricultural will share the land with the solar panels is laughable. I'm not sure how wildlife's going to scale a 6, 8, 10-foot chain link fence that is mostly likely to have barbed wire on top of it to protect the developer's investment. As others have stated, this property is a gateway to our community and home to many different types of wildlife. The people of our great county and Commonwealth get to enjoy the trails, wildlife, and open space. This project has nothing to do with renewable or green energy, has nothing to do with funding for the Aggie, Norfolk County, or the town of Walpole. It has everything to do with lining the pockets of the corporations that are forcing it upon the town of Walpole. Developers don't do projects out of the goodness of their heart. They only care about their profits. Thank you for the opportunity to oppose this project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKenzie. Next to speak is Mr. Roy Nopal. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm the president of the Friends of Adams Farm. I am the manager of the Butterfly Garden at Adams Farm. I'm speaking for myself. You know, when I look for wisdom on a topic as important as this, I try to learn from folks that really know the subject, such as our honorable senator, our honorable state representative. I try to learn from neighbors, Sue Shockett, Rudy. I try to learn the wisdom from businesses, specifically businesses that surround this proposed project, Catherine Kennedy. And I pause intentionally because I've walked the property with Catherine Kennedy. I've walked the property with Sue Shockett, with our honorable state representative, our honorable senator. I've listened to their concerns. I've as well tried to listen to the butterflies, and perhaps I may get a laugh over that, but they can't speak for themselves, so I'm going to try my best. I additionally try to listen to Mass Audubon. The collective wisdom of those folks before this call, never mind the collective wisdom of those that have spoken on this call. And I do have the luxury of hearing that wisdom of prior speakers being so late in this engagement. And I thank you for that. I've listened to the wisdom on this call of Philip and Claire. You know, Philip, you mentioned a good point about, hey, not in my backyard, or let the poor neighborhoods handle it. My opinion is that's not the case, with due respect. Claire, you mentioned electricity usage. I'm doing my best to reduce it. So thank you for that, and thank you both. But my conclusion on this matter, truly, as an individual, although being an avid hiker of Adams Farm and being wonderful friends of the Walpole Trails folks and the Norwood Trail folks, I've just added all the wisdom here, and I am very much opposed to this project, and I want to give enthusiasm to the commission to come up with other plans such as rooftop and not the cherished forests, the cherished meadows, the cherished streams, the cherished air, you name it. Walpole is a cherished environment, and please come up with a different project. I implore you.
3 minutes, sir.
And I wish to welcome you to Adams Farm to give you a tour, and please involve the town of Walpole executives. They're open arms, and I wish to have open communication. So with that, thank you so much and appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Noble. Next to speak is Ms. Jennifer Matthew. Ms. Matthew, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Matthew, and my daughter is a sophomore at the Aggie. Our family resides in Medfield. Last year, I was elected as the class of 2023 parent representative for the Aggie School Council. So in case you don't know, school councils develop school improvement plans, and they're allowed to only review, annual school budgets prior to them being approved by the commissioners. I stand in opposition to this massive scope increase that we've seen in this project. As a side note, I'm also a new commercial farmer. So make no mistake, in case anyone still has a question, this scope explosion is entirely financially driven. Thank you, Commissioner Shea, for acknowledging the need for revenue as a major driving force for the project. Last night's dishonesty surrounding this issue was truly infuriating. Many of you know that I have made it a mission to understand this project intimately and even brought serious and significant mismanagement concerns to the commissioners back in February of this year that seem to have resulted in reconsideration and renegotiation of that original bad deal. What's unfortunate is that it also seems the county's initial missteps have resulted in an explosion of ground mount scope, roughly 2 megawatts to now 6 megawatts, likely in an effort to capture those missed revenues during initial negotiations with Kearsarge. While I am generally in agreement with solar power and a solar project at the Aggie, the Board of Trustees and County Commissioners' lack of solar knowledge and lack of prudence in not hiring an OPM should not result in this now massive ground mount scope being forced through. Alternatively, I ask the Board of Trustees and County Commissioners to focus on balancing the Aggie's budget by rolling up your sleeves. By the way, this would be the first time in many, many years. Roll up your sleeves, take a very active role in publicizing our school, and possibly more importantly, by figuring out where the fat is in the spending. Figure it out. You need an audit, full blown top to bottom. You can't not afford it. And then you need to minimize your discretional spending, including but not limited to the housing that you provide to staff should not be provided to the staff. Rather, it should be a revenue stream. And I'll rest there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Matthew. Next to speak is Mr. Brian Bain. Mr. Bain, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
Thank you, County Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak. I did submit in writing, but also want to reiterate here. As a resident of Precinct 8 in Walpole, I urge you not to put solar panels at the 2 proposed sites. Both of these properties have been preserved as open space, and they should be protected in their current state. Over the last few months, a bald eagle has been spotted at the Norfolk Agricultural School land on numerous occasions, and the North Street property is home to lots of wildlife. Sean Garin, a senior director of Vote Solar Action Fund, which has advocated for greater use of solar, said, cutting down trees or taking over prime agricultural land is a valid worry and should be addressed in any comprehensive plan for addressing climate change. There are alternatives the county should consider at both sites before moving forward. All marginal lands and building rooftops throughout the county should be explored prior to these two sites. There are 28 towns in Norfolk County. I ask you to put together a committee of representatives from all 28 towns to look at opportunities throughout the county to find a solution here. I know I'm on the town of Walpole's Finance Committee. I understand the pressure and the stress you are under to balance your budgets, but there's always other solutions out there. I don't think this process has been transparent from the start, and I urge you to put together a committee of all towns to find solutions here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Bain. Next to speak is Mr. Mike McManus. Mr. McManus, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Mike McManus, and I just recently moved to Walpole about 3 years ago, and across the street from the Aggie. I feel that the deforestation of the 9 acres is absolutely ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense to remove the forest and to put up this massive commercial solar panels that, like the other speakers have talked about, the cadmium, the oils in the wires, the concrete seepage that has known carcinogens in it that will seep into the ground. Also, I've asked many people if there's been an environmental impact study done, and I have not heard from anybody if there has been an environmental impact study done. And I think that's very important, because taking a forest away for 20 years worth of Kearsarge making money off of that land and just thinking that magically that forest will be grown again right away is ludicrous. And the other thing I have to say is, listening to the students speak, I feel sad that they have to come here, take time away from their studies to speak to these county commissioners that apparently have no transparency towards the school. It appears that the school has no idea that this was happening up until recently. And it just shows the illegitimacy of this project, that the school doesn't know about it. It's crazy to me. And I also feel that the agricultural school is an agricultural school, also with the nuances of the environmental aspect of it and engineering part of it. But to put this massive non-agricultural behemoth of nonsense in that school is crazy. And I am adamantly opposed against it. And I just want to thank you for your time. And this is not the last you'll hear from me. I also think that finding a nice spot in Quincy, Mr. Shea, where you live, would be better. Also, in Milton or Dedham, where the other county commissioners live. Why not Blue Hills? Cut down 7 acres in Blue Hills and put it up there. It's high enough. Gets the sun better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McManus. Next to speak is Ms. Kimberly Murrell. Ms. Murrell, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
She's on. I don't see Miss Murrell.
Ms. Murrell, you may still be muted.
Okay. No, she's unmuted herself. She should be there.
One more call here. Miss Murrell? What's the name again?
Murrell?
Spelled
M-U-R-R-I-L-L.
Oh, Murrell. Miss Murrell, are you on?
I can see her.
if anyone, like I can see she's waving, but I don't know if her audio is working or something like that.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, it shows that she's on, but I don't actually notice any audio from her.
There's
no
The microphone might have broke.
Maybe if she could call in.
Why don't we go to the next one and then come back to her?
Move on and come back.
We're
Excellent.
going to go to the next speaker and try to come back to Ms. Merle. We'll see if we can't find it.
Excellent. All right, next speaker is Mr. Luke Burns of Plainville. Mr. Burns, please, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed.
That's it. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for the more than 200 people we have tuning in right now. It's been close to an hour of this work so far, and I want to go over like the main points. I feel I'm a member of the class 2016 from Norfolk Aggie. I'm a substitute teacher at Aggie right now. And from my perspective and what I've heard tonight, this sounds like the money is being put before the education for the students, that the solar fields are being seen as more advantageous for the profit of it than it is for the students' sake, what they can get out of it. As a lifelong resident of Norfolk County and a proud parent, as a proud Aggie grad, I should say, selling off valuable assets of Aggie land for short-term profit is never a good long-term strategy. This is really just not the right way to go about this. There's bound to be plenty of better ways for solar panels to be implemented in Norfolk County, if not Walpole alone. The city dump is one thing we've said tonight already. And really, this whole situation is going to provide long-term damage for the student body that is going to realistically be unfixable for the long term. And we all know that it's going to cause more damage than profit. I yield my time and thank you for the time allotted.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Mr. Mike Stevens is next to speak. Mr. Stevens, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
I'd like to thank the commissioners for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Mike Stevens, and I live on North Street in Walpole, but I'm not directly near either of the proposed sites. I would like to register my opposition to these projects for the same natural preservation reasons that many of the other speakers tonight have stated. With that said, my comment is to raise awareness with the county commissioners related to the actual economic viability of these projects. You know, I work in the energy industry and have some familiarity with many of these projects, actually, and how they deliver the energy they produce. However, these comments are my own. I would like the commissioners to consider that it is actually a common practice for solar project developers to secure land and fully design their projects before they've actually secured full and final interconnection agreements with both the utility and ISO New England. That's the entity that manages the regional power grid in the region. This is important because very often there's not enough transmission capacity to support the number of solar projects that solar developers are proposing in any given geographic area. The result is that developers must compete against each other for the limited transmission capacity available. Since we cannot ask specific questions tonight, I'd like to encourage the commissioners to do that on our behalf. Ask very specific questions of this developer to ensure they have already secured the actual interconnection agreements required to make this project viable. You might assume that they would already have these, but that's actually not always the case. Developers have to do many things to make these projects work, and securing the land is just one of the steps. By the time they get to the interconnection stage, they already have committed a lot of time, a lot of money. So whoever gets through the early steps more quickly has a better chance to interconnect and gain access to that very limited resource of transmission capacity. But that speed does not always mean the best or the most well-researched projects will win. I'd urge the commissioners to fully investigate not just the land lease aspects of this project, but also specifically whether these developers have done their due diligence for the latter portions of their project. It's quite possible the developers are working very hard at this early stage, but they don't actually yet possess the necessary requirements to interconnect and even bring this project to fruition. If they can't guarantee that now, at this stage of the decision, then the county may not actually even see the revenues that they expect. So I urge all the commissioners to do all of their due diligence in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. We'll return to Ms. Kimberly Merle, who I believe has re-logged in. Ms. Merle, are you with us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kimberly Merle. I am a proud 2020 graduate of Norfolk Aggie. The hands-on learning the Aggie implements led me to the path I am on today. I joined this meeting to express that I am opposed to the implement of solar panels on the projected land area because it destroys an important portion of land to wildlife, the Aggie, and the public. Wildlife depend on their habitat to survive, and if we take away a portion of their habitat, they will suffer. I do not want to see wildlife suffer because of our actions. The wooded areas, as well as the fields, are important to wildlife. The fields are important to birds of prey because they hunt on the edge of the fields for small mammals such as squirrels. Coyotes and foxes build dens in the woods. Squirrels and small mammals create their homes in the brush and trees in the projected area. I saw each of these animals' homes while in class. Taking away this precious land will result in potential harm to wildlife and to us. Animals will search for other places to live, and these places could be near our houses. Socialization between wildlife and humans can result in harm to wildlife or us. Animals deserve to live in their respective habitat, and it is our job to protect them and their habitat. Norfolk Aggie utilizes this land for education. I do not support hindering education, and neither should any of you. Aggie teachers take students on walks to inform them of topics firsthand. This is a very important part of Aggie teaching, hands-on learning. Arbor, environmental, agricultural, plant, and animal classes utilize the woods as a part of the curriculum, and it would undermine the meaning of these classes if a portion of the woods are taken away. The woods are also used by the sports teams such as cross country and for fundraisers. One of the most important fundraisers the Aggie hosts is the Haunted Hayride. The Haunted Hayride, as you may know, is a hayride that travels through different student-led sites in the woods. It is a very important fundraiser and student event. The woods are also used by the public, and I do not think it is in your interest to decrease the amount of public space in woods. I believe preserving the environment and its wildlife is far more important than earning more money. I think it is counterproductive to tear down and destroy land in order to build a sustainable solar farm. I believe rooftop solar panels or a more suitable area can be used to house this project and provide education rather than this location. I support solar panels, absolutely, and I believe climate change is an imminent issue that needs to be addressed, but I do not support this location because it would hinder the environment, wildlife, education, and the public. Thank you for letting me speak, and sorry about the audio issues before.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Ms. Merle. Our next to speak is Mr. Peter Kane. Mr. Kane, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please proceed, Mr. Kane.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm an environmental science teacher at Norfolk Aggie. I teach sophomores and juniors about climate change. And I'd just like to say that I think there's a huge disconnect between what the science is telling us and what the general public perceives as the importance of this crisis that we're in. We're currently on course to blow past levels of CO2 in the atmosphere, which will result in a rise of more than 2 degrees centigrade. This is called our carbon budget. And I would urge everyone that's against this project to do a little research on carbon budget. I think that by not acting now to install as much clean energy infrastructure as we possibly can, we're putting a huge burden on our children and future generations. And we don't have time to waste. It's very urgent. We've only got roughly 7 years. Scientists are telling us before we reach tipping points where things are going to start happening that are beyond our control, beyond our ability to prevent. We're talking about sea level rise, extreme temperatures, extreme storms, the invasion of diseases and things like that. So we can't keep putting off projects like this. So I want to express strong support. I am against the location on the Aggie campus that's been selected. I think putting the system along Gould Street would be a much better solution. And I think in general, everyone I talk to is in favor of a ground mount system somewhere on the Aggie campus, but not in the woods. We met with the administration and offered 2 alternative locations, which I think deserve serious consideration. So speaking for future generations, speaking for our children, which we're placing the burden on, if you really want to protect the environment, if you want to look out for wildlife, if you want to protect open space, we need to reduce our CO2 emissions dramatically. And this is one of the best ways that we can do it. So I really urge people to do a little research on the current state of climate science. The scientists are warning us. They've been warning us for 30 or 40 years now. And I think their warnings are being proven correct. If you look at what's happening with hurricanes, with wildfires, and it's going to get worse if we don't act. So please go ahead, build these arrays, but take into account the suggestions you've heard, but don't put it in the woods at the Aggie, please. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Next, we have Mr. William Cannon. Mr. Cannon, thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. You're participating via phone. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you for letting me speak. Hello to the commissioners. Thank you for the many years that I was privileged to work for all of you. Mr. Collins, how are you? It's been a long time. I retired from the Aggie 5 years ago and started work at the Aggie in 1978. I was the last dormitory supervisor at that school and held many positions both in the educational field, and I was even the night watchman for many years. So I know the Aggie, the campus, and I understand your concerns and your challenges right now. I also happen to be the person who started the hayride, and for the class of 1992, myself and Bob Vishnick created the Haunted Hayride, which I believe is probably its 30th year, would have been this year if they'd been able to hold it. And from my estimates of an average on a daily or nightly basis, probably has raised over $500,000 in that time. And so I know your concerns are many, and I really just want to make a creative suggestion to you. I know that in the long and the short of it, maybe the woods will be saved and maybe Hilltop will not be saved. But I'd like to just throw something out, and I see Mr. Little's here too. So Ed, you listen up on this one because I think it's a good one. The town of Walpole's heavily invested in your ideas here. So why not take a really creative venture on this? As I said, the hayride on a good night would raise $5,000. Well, there are approximately 40 nights between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And even if you just took 30 of those and raised $5,000 a night, you'd have $150,000 every year, which could be divided between the school and whoever needed it by having a hayride with Christmas lights all around the campus and in those woods that everybody wants to save. And I know that's a weird or a wild idea, but it would bring the community together. It would create great education. It would be something that you could add and build on every year. Think of something like La Salette. Every department could be involved. You could sell stuff out of the cafeteria from plant science. Mr. Kennedy could sell trees down in that lot. And it could bring the entire Walpole community together, because I'm sure they'd rather help you out for that situation than have those solar panels back in their woods. So that's my idea for you. I love you guys. I still miss you. And I hope that you resolve this well for both the town and the Aggie and its students and the teachers and the staff. I know you guys can do it, but I hope you won't take the rash decision of both of those parcels. It just seems deleterious and detrimental to the concept of what Norfolk Aggie education and Norfolk Aggie, the gem of the county, can remain that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Mr. Cannon. Next to speak is Ms. Trish Barajas. Thank you for your interest in providing feedback. Please unmute yourself and feel free to turn on your video. If you are participating via phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for letting me talk this evening. I just wanted to give a big shout out to the Walpole Preservation Alliance for organizing this large group and getting the word out on this tragic event that may take place. I also appreciate all the students that have brought up how much they enjoy the Aggie Woods. I lived across the street at 419 Main Street in Walpole. I enjoyed buying your Christmas trees. I enjoyed the haunted hay rides. And I also had the pleasure of having my children go over there and enjoy those woods as well. I just also wanted to point out that I now live across from Hilltop Farm. I get to see Brad every season haying the fields on his tractor. And I'm not sure how much you guys actually get to use that property as students. And I think it's important for you to be aware that that is part of your school as well. And as you know, and may not know, there are some beautiful trails back behind those fields. Those fields go through a forest called Patton Forest. That is for a family back in 1997 had donated those forest lands to the New England Forestry Foundation. And in 1997, if you visit their website, they had partnered up with the town of Walpole, Adams Farm, Norfolk County, and Patton Woods to preserve over 250 acres of woods back there. You can walk from Adams Farm all the way over to behind that field. It's beautiful. And into these times where we all want to get outside, it's important to know that you have that available to you. So I know we talk about important and how it is important to preserve the Aggie Woods, but also that is available for you to enjoy as well. So I just wanted to let you know that. Take time. Unfortunately, I don't know how you access it. It sounds like at some point you used to be able to go into Hilltop's driveway and access it from there. I don't know if that's available, but if you go to Donna Drive in Walpole off of 109, you can go and park. There is a place to park and go in via that way. It's absolutely amazing back there. You can come in right up to the top of the field behind the Aggie Woods. So please check that out and make sure you know that that is also available for you to use as well. You can see Blue Hills from the top of that hill. It's absolutely stunning. So with that, I want to again thank the Walpole Preservation Alliance for their work and getting the word out and letting you all know that this is happening so that we can come together as the town of Walpole and Norfolk County and find a better alternative for this. So I thank you for letting me speak, and I welcome you guys to visit the Walpole Preservation Alliance Facebook for more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you
Ross.
very much.
Commissioner Shea, that is the last of those who have signed up to speak.
Okay, I have been informed that was the last speaker that has signed up to speak. So before I close, I'd like to ask, is there anyone who hasn't previously spoken that would like to address us tonight? Last call.
I would just like to thank everybody who is here and speaking on behalf of us Aggie students. I've been crying on and off all throughout this because I just know that we all feel so represented, and it's really amazing to know that we have that. I do think we need to look at the big picture. It feels a bit disrespectful to be showed a PowerPoint with little pictures of sheep as though we just see sheep as Aggie students and think, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, we have places to graze our sheep. It would be inconvenient to graze them in that area. As far as studying biodiversity, a bunch of grass is not nearly as biodiverse as the woods that we currently have. And if we're really talking about helping the environment here, the Aggie uses those woods to educate thousands of students that then go into the workforce and help the environment. We can't solve man-made issues with more man-made destruction. So I think we need to be honest about that and the intents of this project. So thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
I would like to say something, please.
Please.
My name is Justin Kennedy. I am a graduate of Norfolk Aggie, 97, and I am also the ABA teacher at the Aggie right now. And I would like to thank everybody who showed up this evening in support of opposing the location of the solar panels. I was a kid back in '94 coming out of the city of Boston. I didn't have a care for a tree. It was Norfolk Aggie that changed my perspective. People like Bill Cannon, who spoke up, Mark Mertz, Bruno Tarazzi, Tammy Quinn, who is now the superintendent of the school. Those people there shaped me, and I give them all the credit in the world for the person I became, and I give the school 100% credit for shaping me as being the person I am as well. I just want to hope that you guys do what's right for the students. All right, people mentioned doing what's right for the environment. I think we can all agree that solar is a positive thing for the environment, but cutting down trees and taking away greenery is detrimental to the environment. All righty, so I hope that the Board of Trustees, Mr. Shea, that you guys do what is right for the students. And what you do is right for the neighbors of Norfolk Aggie. Okay, we are a community and we're educating the future, and we need to put students first. Thank you much.
Thank you, Justin.
If I could just say a few words, I don't want to beat a dead sheep, I don't want to beat a dead horse, there we go. But my name's Sarah Jefferson, I'm a recent alumni, and I just want to stress that these aren't the trees we're talking about. These aren't just trees in the middle of a forest that no one cares about and we just don't want to cut down. This is an educational value and a really important ecosystem to the education at Norfolk Aggie. So I just want us all to think about that this isn't just a little section of trees, that it's way more important than that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not to mention that this area is also a clearing that was made by students over many years. And in said clearing, there is a tire swing, which I think was made by students about 5 or 6 years ago. This area has provided many hours of entertainment for people that are from the Aggie and people from the surrounding communities. If these solar panels were placed directly into that space, it would take away all of those memories and all of that time spent there. Thank you.
Thank you.
The tire
Okay.
actually continues on to the class of 2012, which is where I was lucky enough to graduate from. And now I'm a special educator in Walpole, and I just seeing all of the people and teachers that helped shape me, sticking up for the Aggie and all of the other former students that worked I worked tirelessly with to create the trails and the meadows and learned and created so many memories. And like other people have said, those trees aren't just trees. Those trees we planted, those trails we built, those trails we walked to create such an amazing place for people to go and spend their time, that tearing it down would literally be tearing down everything we've ever worked for.
Thank you, Ms. McGowan.
Thank you. Wait a minute.
If you could identify yourself.
Speaking, please.
Ms. Pierce?
Abigail?
Yes, sir. I'm
Hello?
sorry, I didn't hear you. Can I speak?
Please, if you could just identify yourself.
Correct.
Yes, I'm Abigail Pierce. I'm class of 2022 at Norfolk.
She.
Yeah, okay, I think it's.
Can you hear me, Abigail? Hello, Abigail?
I believe you're
Yes, I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
I can hear you now, but when you started speaking before, we couldn't hear you.
Your mic keeps cutting in.
Okay, but you can hear me right now, sir?
Please continue.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I'm an ag mech major, agricultural mechanics major at the school. And I just wanted to say, because a lot of people are getting covered by the plant and environmental majors and some animal majors. But I'm an agricultural mechanics major, and those woods have affected me a lot. I'm a junior now, in my freshman year and sophomore year. And even just the half of the sophomore year that we got last year, the woods are a main part of those memories. And from the tire swing that people mentioned before to people doing cross country, and we raised quails last year and even released them into those woods so they would have a safe environment to be in. And by destroying their habitat, that completely negates what we did last year. And the Ag Met kids, personally, we go through the woods continuously, and that's part of our education. While for all the other majors, every major is affected by it, no matter what your major is. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce.
Thank you. I'm going to take it here. Okay.
Say something?
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Who is speaking, please?
Seth Wilson.
Yes, Seth, go ahead.
I just want to say that everything out in those fields and the woods is a learning opportunity. At the beginning of this, the energy person was talking about, oh, the fallen trees, acting like they're nothing out there. But I remember when I was at the Aggie, there was a patch of fallen trees there. And I spent numerous class periods out there working on those fallen trees, cleaning them up. And that has taught me so much about what I use in my everyday life on my job, about how to make cuts and storm damage and get all that done. Just so many opportunities and small things like that that people don't see. They see it as a waste product, but we go out in those woods and we see that as a learning experience out in our classroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, can I please speak next?
Who's speaking, please?
Sophia Antonuccio. I'm from the class of 2022. I'm currently a junior. And I just want to say that these woods mean a lot to us. Not only is it our education and is it the environment, but these are all our memories, and this is our history. It's Aggie, and I think that it would be a huge loss, not only environmentally and educationally, but emotionally to a lot of students and alumni. And that's all. Thank you for letting me speak.
May I say a few words, please?
Okay, Matthew. I want to remind everyone that we set a protocol in the beginning and that, we were trying to judge how we were doing. That's why we asked everyone to sign up earlier, but go ahead, Matthew.
Hi, yes. No, I just want to briefly speak. I would be remiss if I didn't say anything on behalf of myself and my fellow alum that I've spoken to about this project. It's nothing arguing at this point because there's nothing that I could say at this point that hasn't been said tonight. Very great arguments made by many folk, but I would like to thank everyone who's shown up tonight, and especially those who've stayed to this point now that we've broken the 2-hour mark, actually a little bit over now. But I would just like to say I have not spoken to any of my fellow alum who have been in favor for the proposed project. Again, there are great opportunities that the Aggie has, and learning is definitely one of them. And financially, it definitely would benefit the school. But I would definitely just not be in agreement with the current proposal. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Matthew.
I just want to add one thing. Again, not arguing.
Please.
Nathan. I just want to add that there is a lot of history out in those woods. For example, we have stuff from the hurricane of 1938 out there. So we have many years of history all throughout years of that land. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Sirs, I know you're trying to wrap up, but may I say a few words, please?
Who is this?
My name is Tom Halevi. I'm a resident on North Walpole on Donna Drive.
Sure.
All right. I just wanted to say that, as you make your considerations of what to do with the space, we heard a lot of Aggie alumni, Aggie students talking about the importance of these woods and what it means to them personally and educationally. And I just wanted to say, from my perspective, I moved to Walpole 7 years ago, and I spend probably every day in the summer in the Aggie field, in the Aggie woods, across, I'm just walking around with my kids and wife there, and I couldn't imagine not being able to do that anymore. Never been involved in a town call before, but I felt so strongly about this that I did want to voice my opposition, just because it's such a special place. And I work at Harvard University, where they take green initiatives and solar power so seriously. So, because I understand it's such an important issue in our lifetimes. But I've never heard of deforestation as being, the driving initiative in providing sustainable energy and reducing climate change. That's something I've never heard in my time at Harvard. I've worked there for many years. So just on a personal level, it's such a special place for me personally, for many of the people you heard from. And I just feel like there's got to be a better place for it. I know that's all I wanted to say. I hope you guys will consider that in your decision, because it is truly a special place. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Who's talking, please?
Angelina Nichols.
Yes.
I just want to get something in quick. I live in Boston, and I hardly get to go or be near the woods. And I just want to say that for myself and a lot of students, the Aggie Woods is their only access to something like that and for such education. And taking it away would take away a huge amount of curriculum from future students.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi,
As chairman,
can I say one more thing? Fred Schwartz.
who is it? I'm sorry.
Hi, Fred Schwartz from Walpole. Couple quick comments.
Yes, Fred.
Thank you very much. So some great comments tonight on the recreational and community and environmental impacts here. Those are first and foremost in my mind. But I also want to say there's some of the economic benefits of this plan have been noted, but there's clear economic challenges and negative impacts to this. This is a beautiful, North Walpole is a beautiful community with homes that are well taken care of and away from commercial and industrial aspects, and there's no way to think that the property values of the homes in the area will not be negatively impacted by this change. And given the small economic benefit to the town, it will unquestionably be a wash at best, based on the negative impact to what is really one of the central gateways to Walpole on North Street. And I just would challenge the the decision makers to take that into account in addition to all the other great points that are made tonight. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Evan McClellan. I'm a student at the Aggie. I'm looking around this meet and I'm seeing like a lot of students, and we're the future, we have to bear that burden of climate change. And, although like putting the PV array in the woods is a bad idea, we need something to be done. We need as many, opportunities. We need as many things to be done about this problem as possible right away, like right now.
Hi, my name is Ariel Powers of the class of 2020 of Norfolk Aggie. I just had really quick 2-3 sentences to say. I just wanted to make sure you guys really consider the student perspective in this sense and understand that we are in the backwoods, or wish I still was. We were there on a daily basis. I grew up going to summer camps there. I grew up walking the backwoods there. We understand those woods inside and out. We could get through them blindfolded. We understand everything about them. And I feel like I would just encourage you guys to really understand that we are there. You're not necessarily there every single day, and to just kind of overlook the fact that you're not involved completely in those woods is just not the greatest decision to be making for this. And I really regret not putting together a video of what we see every day in the backwoods, and hopefully I'll be able to, because I have hundreds of pictures and videos of just the breathtaking views that you get from the backwoods and everything that we have done since we've been there. And I also wanted to point out all these Lorax backgrounds that you've been seeing randomly. Mr. Kane had us watch this video when we were sophomores, this movie, and his famous quote is that, like, nothing's gonna, unless someone cares a whole awful lot, nothing's gonna change. It's just not. And as stupid as it sounds, I encourage you to watch this movie, because they cut down all the trees and they really regretted it. And it took way too much to put it all back together. And we don't want to end up like this. Don't be the people in the Lorax tearing down our trees. So please just think about that. And the amount of people here speaks volumes. Please just don't ignore us. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Meller, and I graduated in 2019 from Norfolk Aggie as a plant science major. And right now I'm a natural resource conservation major. And I just wanted to say, off of what Mr. Kennedy said, without the education that I've had from this school, I would not be going into what I'm doing now. And I want to change the planet. I want to do better for the earth. But those woods are where I learned that and where I got my passion from all these teachers. And I just think it's really important that we keep those woods. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to now announce that this matter is going to be taken under advisement. Everything was said here tonight is recorded. We have a lot of backup. We have a lot of testimony. We have a lot of notes that were made here tonight. So on behalf of my commissioners, Commissioner Collins, I'd like to announce that this matter will officially be taken under advisement, and further announce that this public hearing is closed. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank everyone for speaking out, and have a good evening and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.